Chapter 257. Qin Jin's gaze fell on the two people at the foot of the throne. Lin Muyu and Chu Huayin were indeed the best of the best. Their loyalty and strength were not a problem, and both of them could intimidate the military police battalion, so they were not uncontrollable. As long as Xiang Yu left, the military police battalion would be without a leader. After removing a few kiliarchs and reappointing new kiliarchs, this army would actually have a change of ownership. As if seeing through Qin Jin's thoughts, Lin Muyu smiled helplessly and cupped her fists. Imperial Father, I really don't have the strength. Chief Deacon Lei Hong has already appointed me as the new deacon of the Holy Cathedral. Coupled with my duties in the Eagle Nest camp, I'm afraid I can't take up an important position in the military police battalion. Imperial Father, please find another capable person. Qin Jin stroked his beard and said with a smile, All right then, Ayu doesn't need to be the commander, but the position of the commander of the military police battalion is just as Little Yin said, it's very important, and it must be someone I rely on. Tang Xiaoxi smiled. Your Majesty, do you trust and rely on Xiaoxi? Qin Jin couldn't help but laugh. Xiaoxi is a girl. The military police battalion is full of uncouth men. It's really not suitable. Chu Huayin, I ask you, are you willing to be the commander of the military police battalion? Chu Huayin was startled and hesitated. Why are you not willing? Qin Jin was a little surprised and said, You should know that although there are only 2,000 people in the military police battalion, they have the greatest authority in the entire army of the empire. If you were to become the commander of the military police battalion, your military rank would be equivalent to that of a general. It would be much more powerful than this little Dragon Guard commander and deputy general. Chu Huayin's expression was solemn. He looked up at the emperor and cupped his fists. Your Majesty, Chu Huayin doesn't want to be the commander of the military police battalion, but I want to be a general who can charge and break through enemy lines for your Majesty. If your Majesty trusts Chu Huayin, please transfer Chu Huayin to be the commander of the Flying Mount Battalion. Chu Huayin is willing to fight for your Majesty without hesitation. Oh. Qin Jin couldn't help but smile, and his face was filled with a gratified expression as he said, Fine. Feng Jixing isn't strong enough to command 30,000 Imperial Guards. Those 17,000 soldiers of the Flying Mount Battalion are elite soldiers after all. Fine. I'll approve of you. I'll immediately promote Chu Huayin to be the commander of the Flying Mount Battalion. He'll be in charge of the 17,000 soldiers of the Flying Mount Battalion. At the same time, he'll be in charge of the Dragon Guards. What do you think? Chu Huayin was overjoyed. He cupped his fists and said, Thank you for your grace, your Majesty. Qin Jin stroked his beard and said with a smile, You must be loyal to Xiaoyin in the future and work hard for the empire. Yes, your Majesty, this general obeys. Qin Yin, who was by Qin Jin's side, pouted and said, But Imperial Father still hasn't chosen the commander of the military police battalion. Sigh. Qin Jin was a little vexed as he said, There are too few people that I can use. Originally, Feng Jixing was resolute and courageous, and he could take on great responsibilities. However, he's the commander of the Imperial Guards, and he's responsible for the safety of the Imperial City. As for Qin Lei, he's too upright and straightforward, and he's easily broken. He's not very suitable to be the commander of the military police battalion. Xiaoyin, do you have any other recommendations? To everyone's surprise, Qin Yin gracefully bowed like a virtuous lady and said with a smile, Your daughter recommends herself. What? Qin Jin, Lin Muyu, Chu Huayin, and the others were all stunned. How can you do that? You're the heir to the throne. Why not? Qin Yin met her father's gaze and said with a smile, It's precisely because I'm the heir to the throne that I should understand the Empire's army better. The military police battalion administers the army's military laws. What position is closer to the various commander-in-chief of the Empire's army than the commander of the military police battalion? If Xiaoyin wants to truly control the Empire's army, she must take this step. Imperial Father, Xiaoyin has grown up. She's no longer that frail Qin Yin. Qin Jin frowned, his expression uncertain. After a while he raised his head and asked, You Chu Huayin, what do you think? Chu, what do you think? Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said, Xiao Yin's recommendation is a little shocking, but if you think about it, it makes sense. As long as Your Majesty assigns a few capable dragon guards to take up important positions in the military police battalion and control the army, Xiao Yin will naturally be able to control the military police battalion first, and then the entire empire's army. As for safety, I can assign 20 eagle guards to act as Xiao Yin's personal bodyguards. Qin Jin said. Xiao Yin is the heir to the empire's throne and my only hope. Nothing can happen to her safety. At the side, Chu Chu cupped his fists and said with a smile, Your Majesty, why don't we do this? I will oversee the Zetian Palace and protect Your Majesty. Your Majesty can issue an imperial edict to the Divine Sanctum's Grand Deacon Lei Hong, and order him to be the deputy commander of the military police battalion, and protect Her Highness at all times. As for the Divine Sanctum, since Yu is here, why don't we let this fellow gain more experience, and hold the authority of the Grand Deacon? Qin Jin smiled. That's a good idea. You're still young and inexperienced. Imperial Father can't promote you to be the Divine Sanctum's Grand Deacon. Are you willing to hold the authority of the Grand Deacon as a deacon? Lin Muyu smiled helplessly and cupped her fists. Then that's the only way. All right, then it's decided. Qin Jin laughed heartily and his gaze fell on Qin Yin. Xiao Yin, it's not that easy to be the commander of the military police battalion. You have to consult Grand Deacon Lei Hong on everything, understand? I understand, Imperial Father. I'll go and make the preparations immediately. Tomorrow morning, I'll send Xiang Yu to set off from Zetian Palace. All of you have to attend. Yes. After the meeting was over, Lin Muyu brought the imperial edict back to the Divine Sanctum. When she handed it over to Lei Hong, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. To think that I actually became a deputy commander at such an old age. I, Lei Hong, have always been indifferent to fame and fortune, and was unwilling to accept any military position. But now, I've become a deputy commander. Lin Muyu chuckled. Grand Deacon, your mission is only to accompany and protect Her Highness Yin. As for the position of deputy commander, it's just an empty title. You should understand very well. Lei Hong placed the imperial edict aside and looked deeply at Lin Muyu. The imperial edict mentioned that you'll temporarily hold all the authority of the Grand Deacon. In the future, all the matters of the Divine Sanctum will be handed over to you. Lin Muyu replied respectfully. I'll definitely be careful and won't let you down. All right, I'll set off in the afternoon. Lei Hong glanced at Guiyang, who was not far away, and said, Deacon Guiyang, when I'm not around, you have to listen to Deacon Lin and assist her wholeheartedly. Do you understand? Guiyang cupped his hands and smiled. This old man understands. In the afternoon, Lei Hong packed his luggage and went to the military police camp. He brought scrolls of scrolls with him. These were his treasures. Lei Hong had been researching all kinds of martial arts his entire life. It seemed that these were his pursuits. Lin Muyu led Qin Yan, Guiyang and the rest to send Lei Hong to the door. Then they returned to the Divine Sanctum. Guiyang smiled respectfully. I've already cleaned up the Divine Sanctum's meeting hall. It'll be your workplace. Take a look first. I'll bring you the files that you need to review today later. Oh, all right. Lin Muyu followed Guiyang to the center of the Divine Sanctum. The meeting hall had been covered in dust for a long time. At this time it was clean. A huge desk was placed under the window. On top of the desk, there was a pendulum inlaid with the Divine Sanctum's emblem. Lin Muyu sat behind the desk. She actually felt a little satisfaction in her heart. She had never used such a huge desk before. The treatment of a Grand Deacon was indeed different. Even though she was just a temporary Grand Deacon, 2 Divine Sanctum guards stood in front of the door. There was also a 40-year-old servant called Jin Sang. However, Lin Muyu usually called him Uncle Jin. Deacon Lin, would you like black tea or green tea in the afternoon? Jin Sang asked respectfully. Lin Muyu raised her head and looked at him. She smiled. A cup of green tea. Thank you, Uncle Jin. You're welcome, Deacon. I'll be right there. Not long after Jin Sang left, Guiyang came with a huge stack of files. He placed them all on the desk and smiled. These are all the things that need to be dealt with today. Take a look, If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me. All right. Thank you, Deacon Guyang. Lin Muyu opened the first file. It clearly said, recruitment. The trial hall is short of 4 guards. We're specially recruiting 4 guards at the second sky of the mortal realm. The estimated cost is 50 Jin-in coins per person. That's a total of 200 Jin-in coins. There was nothing more to say. Lin Muyu wrote her name on the file and added the Grand Deacon's seal. She then looked at the next file. Repairs. 24 damaged weapons in 3 days. The total repair cost is 147 Jin-in coins. The warehouse has already paid for it. Please approve. Lin Muyu wrote her name and stamped the Grand Deacon's seal. She then looked at some trivial matters, such as how many goats and chickens were consumed during the banquet. Lin Muyu couldn't help but sigh inwardly. It really wasn't easy being the Grand Deacon of the Sacred Hall. Furthermore, it wasn't the end of the month yet. Otherwise, she would still have to pay the instructors and sparring partners. That would probably be even more of a headache. However, she didn't know that there was still more to worry about. Not long after, someone knocked on the door. It was Wei Chao's voice. Commander, are you inside? Come in. Lin Muyu said. Wei Chao carried a pile of scrolls and walked in with a smile on his face. Commander, these are some of the unresolved scrolls for the Eagle Nest camp this month. Most of them are related to equipment repairs, rations and the like. Please take a look and then sign your approval. Without your signature, the military supplies department will not give us any supplies. F*CK. Lin Muyu groaned inwardly. Her head was already swollen, while Guyang chuckled at the side without saying anything. When it was almost dusk, they finally finished dealing with all the scrolls on the table. Lin Muyu sighed. He finally had some time to cultivate the 4-dimensional energy at night. However, he was too optimistic. Not long after, Zhang Wei came to the Sacred Hall with a jar of wine. He said that he was here to reminisce and find some old friends to drink with. There was nothing to do that night. She had a hangover. The next day, before she woke up, Jin Sang's voice came from outside. Deacon Lin, you still have something to do today. You need to go to the Zetian Hall early in the morning to escort Xiang Yu's prisoner carriage out of the city. Oh, Lin Muyu jumped to her feet. Yes, this was an order from Qin Jin himself. She couldn't afford to be negligent. Chapter 258. Early in the morning, the bright sunlight shone upon Zetian Palace Hall. When Lin Muyu arrived on her horse, Feng Jixing, Qin Yan, Chu Huaying, Qin Yin, and the others had already arrived. In the distance, a prisoner's carriage was pushed out from Zetian Palace Hall. It was escorted by dozens of imperial guards. Inside the carriage, Xiang Yu was dressed in a prisoner's uniform. His hands were locked by heavy metal chains. 2 metal chains had pierced through the major acupoints in his chest, preventing him from circulating his battle chi. This was equivalent to crippling his martial arts. At this moment, the arrogant look on Xiang Yu's face had already vanished. However, his gaze towards Lin Muyu and the others was filled with disdain and anger. The once unruly military police camp commander had ended up in such a state. It was truly a pity. Lin Muyu walked forward and said calmly, Xiang Yu, we're here to send you off. Xiang Yu sneered. Lin Muyu, he. Being in the king's company is like being with a tiger. Ha ha ha. You fools think that Qin Jin will really trust you forever? Feng Jixing's gaze turned cold. Shut up. You're already a prisoner. How dare you spout nonsense? Ha 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 ha. Xiang Yu trembled as he laughed. His face was ashen and filled with despair. Even though he was in the prisoner's carriage, he still turned his head and looked coldly at Lin Muyu. He shouted, Lin Muyu, do you really think that I was the one who assassinated Su Qin? You've all been deceived, you bunch of fools. Lin Muyu spurred her horse forward and said calmly, that night at the post house, you know very well whether or not you were the one who assassinated Su Qin, right? Xiang Yu said, that night was indeed me. However, the assassination of Su Qin in the dragon-seeking forest was definitely not done by me. I, Xiang Yu, dare to take responsibility for my actions. There's nothing I don't dare to admit. However, you want to pin the blame on me for something I didn't do? I refuse to accept this. If it wasn't you, who else could it be? Lin Muyu smiled slightly. Xiang Yu turned his head and scolded angrily. Lin Muyu, you idiot. You're a stupid pig. Qin Yin raised an eyebrow. Xiang Yu, you're still cursing Big Brother you? Don't tell me you don't want to be exiled to Heavenspan Province? Do you just want a quick death? If that's the case, I don't mind changing my father's mind. Xiang Yu's gaze was ice cold. Qin Yin, there isn't a single good person in your Qin family. You are a bunch of ungrateful people. Your Qin family is a bunch of despicable people. Shut up. Lin Muyu growled. Xiang Yu laughed. Perhaps it was due to his excitement. His wrist rubbed against the iron lock, causing blood to flow. He said loudly, borrowing Su Qin's hand to kill Hu Tianning, a feudal lord of a town. Then borrowing my name, Xiang Yu, to get rid of Duke Yun's only son. Finally, borrowing Su Qin's death to consign me to eternal damnation. What a good way to kill 3 birds with 1 stone. Qin Jin, oh Qin Jin. In this world, who is more scheming than you? In order to pave the way for your daughter, what can't you sacrifice? You won't have a good death. You definitely won't have a good death. I, Xiang Yu, curse you to die by a sword. Feng Jixing said angrily. Someone stuff his mouth with a piece of cotton cloth. Yes. 2 imperial guards stepped forward and stuffed Xiang Yu's mouth. Lin Muyu held her sword and slowly escorted him to the right side of the prisoner's carriage. Her expression was gloomy and her heart was in turmoil. She suddenly thought of many things that she shouldn't have thought about. Yes, this world was so sinister. Who wouldn't scheme against others? If these were really Qin Jin's schemes, then Lin Muyu could understand everything. After leaving the city, Chu Huayin personally led 1,000 cavalrymen from the Flying Mount Battalion to escort Xiang Yu to Tongtian Province. The journey back and forth would take more than a month. Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Qin Yan had already returned after leaving the city. Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing escorted Chu Huayin for a longer distance. Feng Jixing led a group of imperial guards to bring up the rear. Lin Muyu urged her horse to catch up with Chu Huayin, who was at the front of the group. She smiled and said, Brother Chu, I'm sure you won't be back for a long time after going to Tongtian Province, right? Chu Huaimian nodded and said, You remember to take care of Yao while you're in the capital. Visit her more often. Otherwise, I won't be at ease leaving her alone in the capital. Got it. Brother Chu, don't worry. I'll visit her often. Okay, that's good. Chu Huayin nodded gently. Suddenly, there was a trace of doubt in his eyes. He lowered his voice and said to Lin Muyu, Maybe I won't go too far. I'll return to Lanyan City in 3 to 5 days. Lin Muyu seemed to understand something, and her heart ached as if it was being pricked by needles. Her Majesty summoned me to Zetian Palace late last night for a lecture. You're extremely smart, so you should be able to guess some things. Originally, Her Majesty intended to let you handle this matter, but she was worried that you would be too benevolent, so she didn't choose you. Instead, she chose me, the new commander of the Flying Mount Battalion. Chu Huayin's eyes flickered a few times, and his gaze became sharp. He said, But it doesn't matter. I'm the most suitable person to handle this matter. I, Chu Huayin, have pursued power and position all my life. If I can get a reward for doing something against my will, it's worth it. Lin Muyu was silent. She stared at the ground that was constantly retreating. Chu Huayin raised his voice and asked, Are you listening to me? Do you know what I want to tell you? I know. Lin Muyu's voice was surprisingly calm, or perhaps it was a kind of disappointment. She said faintly, If I'm not wrong, Her Majesty asked Brother Chu Huayin to assassinate Xiang Yu midway. A look of surprise flashed across Chu Huayin's face. Since you've already guessed it, why are you so calm? What does it matter if I'm calm or not? Lin Muyu frowned and said, Her Majesty has accepted me as his godson. I originally thought that he trusted me a lot, and would tell me everything. But now it seems that I don't understand him at all. I really don't understand him at all. Chu Huayin patted her shoulder and said, He is the emperor who stands above all and the ruler of this mainland. Naturally, he can't be soft-hearted. You will naturally understand this in the future. This is a world filled with killing and strife. It has never been as beautiful as the fairy tales. I've submitted to this world. To me, All the good things are focused on Yao, Xinxiang, and your group of good brothers. Perhaps it's because of your existence that I'm able to continue walking down this path with firm faith. Lin Muyu nodded, and a bright smile appeared on her face again. She said, "Yes, I won't be willful this time. Brother Chu Huayin, just do whatever you want. I'll pretend that I don't know anything." "That's right, this is our good you. All right, we've sent him here. You and Feng Jixing can go back. This matter, let me Chu Huayin bear all the responsibility." "Okay." Lin Muyu turned her horse around and came to Feng Jixing's side. She said, "Brother Feng, let's go back to the capital. There's no need to send us too far." Feng Jixing nodded. "Yes, let's go. Shouldn't you invite me to the Tingyu Tower for a drink this afternoon?" "Drink?" Lin Muyu suddenly smiled. "Okay, let's go to the Tingyu Tower. Good, straightforward." In the afternoon, in the elegant room of the Tingyu Tower, only Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing were drinking face to face. There were 6 empty wine pots beside them. Both of them seemed to have something on their minds. They didn't say anything and just kept drinking. Lin Muyu didn't use his strength to dispel the alcohol. He wanted nothing more than to get drunk. When he was about 80 to 90% drunk, he raised his head and looked at Feng Jixing. He said, "Brother Feng, do you know? Ever since I came to Lanyan City, you've been the person I admire the most. In my heart, you're a true hero, the kind of person who's always been upright." Feng Jixing smiled. He put down his cup and picked up his chopsticks. He said, "Why? Am I, Feng Jixing, not an upright person now? If you didn't do what happened in the dragon-seeking forest, then you can still be called a hero." Lin Muyu looked straight at Feng Jixing. Her gaze was like a sharp sword that could penetrate all of Feng Jixing's disguises and lies. Feng Jixing was startled. He raised his hand and said to the attendants outside the door, "All of you leave this floor. No one is allowed to come near. If I don't go out, don't come in." "Yes, Commander." The 4 Imperial guards outside quickly left. Feng Jixing opened his drowsy eyes and looked up at Lin Muyu. He smiled. Are you suspecting Brother Feng?" "Yes, I do suspect you." Lin Muyu picked up his cup and drained it in one gulp. His face was full of pain as he said, "Xiang Yu didn't have 2,000 troops to kill Su Qin. Moreover, Xiang Yu didn't know Su Qin's location in the dragon-seeking forest. Only you escorted Su Qin into the Cloud Ancient Path. Only you, Brother Feng, could take out over 2,000 troops to assassinate Su Qin." Feng Jixing looked at him absent-mindedly. He suddenly laughed self-deprecatingly. You're too smart. So smart that it scares me. If you think that I, Feng Jixing, have done something wrong, you can always pull out your dragon spirit sword and kill me. I know. I, Feng Jixing, am no longer your opponent. It won't be hard for you to kill me." Lin Muyu frowned. "Brother Feng, why do you want to kill Su Qin? He's Xiao Yin's uncle." "It's because he's Xiao Yin's uncle." Feng Jixing slammed his palm on the table and said, "It's precisely because he's Xiao Yin's uncle and the only heir of the Muyu city that he's so vicious. He even dared to order the massacre of the 5 Valleys city. If you didn't stop him, he would have been trapped in the predicament of His Majesty being a tyrant. Do you think Su Qin should be killed? If Su Qin wasn't killed, Duke Yun would never hand over the 250,000 soldiers of the Muyu city to Xiao Yin. Do you think Su Qin should be killed?" As he said this, Feng Jixing took out an imperial edict from his bosom and said, "This is the secret killing order that His Majesty gave me. However, it doesn't exist anymore." Feng Jixing's doqi rose and instantly crushed the imperial edict into pieces. He stood up and said lightly, "This is what I, Feng Jixing, did alone. It has nothing to do with His Majesty and Her Highness Yin. If you want to kill me, then kill me. This is a game of power. There's no mercy or affection." Lin Muyu looked up at him and said calmly, "Big Brother Feng, do you have mercy in your heart?" "Mercy?" Feng Jixing was startled for a moment, then said with a smile, "My benevolence has never been given to my opponents." Lin Muyu pointed to the dishes on the table and said with a smile, "Sit down and drink. The dishes are getting cold. Don't waste them. They're all my hard-earned money." Feng Jixing sat down slowly and said, "This meal is on me. I owe you. As your big brother, I shouldn't keep hiding it from you." I've forgotten about these things. Lin Muyu picked up a piece of wild boar meat and put it on Feng Jixing's plate. She said, "You didn't do anything wrong. It's me who can't let go of too many things. However, I'll learn to let go and make choices in the future." Feng Jixing's eyes were full of praise. "Well, maybe you're the only one who can change the future." Chapter 259. 4 days later, the Emperor, Qin Jin, wrote an imperial edict to promote Min Yulin to the rank of commander-in-chief. He was sent to Yunzhong province to replace Su Qin as the commander of the Iron Blade Army. At this point, nearly half of the military power in Yunzhong province was under Qin Jin's control. Xiang Yu handed over his military power before he was exiled. The tens of thousands of troops in Songnan province were all under Si Kongfan's control. The imperial edict that Chu Huayin was promoted to commander of the Flying Mount Camp was also issued. At this point, the military power of North Ridge province, Yunzhong province, and Songnan province was all concentrated in the hands of the emperor in Lanyan City. In less than 5 days, Chu Huayin returned to Lanyan City with 1,000 men from the Flying Mount Camp. He claimed that the army was attacked by the remnants of the Academy of Chivalry on the way back. The criminal Xiang Yu was shot dead on the spot, and the Flying Mount Camp lost dozens of men. However, Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and the others knew that the remnants of the Academy of Chivalry in Songnan province would never dare to attack the Flying Mount Camp again. However, Xiang Yu had indeed passed away forever. He was the descendant of Xiang Wentian, one of the founding fathers of the country, and the god of war. He had mastered the 9 chaotic strikes, but he had died in the wilderness. It was truly a pity. A month later, the bitter cold of winter gradually left Lanyan City. The days of spring had arrived again. Mu, Tang Xiaoxi's bell-like laughter reverberated in the temple. She had come to the temple to see Lin Muyu many times. When she pushed open the door to the office, she saw a purple ripple in the air. Purple lightning lingered around the gap in the space, accompanied by a young dragon's roar. An Acatosaurus, Little Apple, stretched his neck to look at the situation in this plane. When he heard Tang Xiaoxi's voice, he pricked up his ears and ran out of the space gap while shaking his head. He wagged his huge tail and ran towards Tang Xiaoxi. Tang Xiaoxi giggled as she took out the golden cauldron from the bamboo basket and placed it on the ground. She said, "Little Apple is such a good boy. Sister has brought you your favorite roast duck. It's just come out of the oven. Eat slowly, don't burn yourself." Xiaolong shook its head and started eating heartily. On the other side of the desk, Lin Muyu slowly withdrew her dou qi and returned it to her aura C. Suddenly, the crack in space 20 meters in front of her disappeared with a crackling sound. "Mu, have you done it?" Tang Xiaoxi asked with a smile. "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded and said, "It's a pity that it's still a bit lacking. At most, it can only create a spatial crack 20 meters away." "Is that so?" Tang Xiaoxi blinked her beautiful eyes and asked with a smile, "Do you have the urge to try entering the spatial rift?" Lin Muyu shook her head quickly and said with a smile, "This mortal body of mine doesn't want to pass through space. That kind of pain is unbearable for ordinary people. Little Apple is a true dragon, so it doesn't matter. The impact of the cosmic sand is like an itch to him. If I pass through space, I'll become like that roast duck. Also, once I pass through, I won't know how to come back." "Oh, that's true." Tang Xiaoxi sat down on the chief deacon's desk with a smile and swung her long legs lightly in the air. She said with a smile, "Then it's better if you don't try it. I don't want to never see you again. Moreover, if you really can't come back, Xiaoyin will really be worried." "Oh right, what is Xiaoyin doing recently? I don't have time to visit her. The matters of the Holy Cathedral and the Eagle Nest are too busy." Tang Xiaoxi smiled slightly. "Xiaoyin is now the commander of the military police battalion. She spends at least half of her time in the military police battalion every day. She's busy with military discipline and sending people to patrol the troops everywhere. The rest of her time isn't idle either. Recently, she has been preparing for the Spring Plowing Festival." "Spring Plowing Festival? Yes." Tang Xiaoxi nodded. "The most solemn festival in the empire. It means the official arrival of spring, the revival of all things, and the people of the empire can start farming again. I see. It's similar to the Spring Festival where I come from. Spring Festival? Yes, it's also called the New Year. Lin Muyu moved the files to the side and talked with Tang Xiaoxi while reading them. Tang Xiaoxi blinked and asked with a smile. Mu, tell me honestly, where are you from? Earth. Lin Muyu told the truth. Earth. Tang Xiaoxi was stunned for a moment, then laughed out loud. She held Lin Muyu's shoulder and said, Mu, don't tease me. How can people live on a ball? Won't it fall down? Lin Muyu said seriously. The sky is round and the earth is flat, but that place is called Earth. I see. Tang Xiaoxi pursed her red lips and said with a smile. Then, Mu, when you're free in the future and you're free from military affairs, bring me to your hometown, that Earth, to have a look, okay? Lin Muyu raised her head to look at her, only to find that the beautiful princess, she was as radiant as the morning sun. She couldn't help but laugh. That's good too. With little she's looks, I might be able to use the Long Xian Group's funds to help you package up. Entering Hollywood won't be a problem. What is Hollywood? Oh, it's just a small port. Oh, I don't understand. Mu is always so mysterious. Oh right, the Spring Plowing Festival is the day after tomorrow. Didn't the Divine Sanctum prepare a Spring Plowing Festival celebration? Yes, most of the files that have been processed these days are about the Spring Plowing Festival celebration. The Divine Sanctum has bought a lot of ale, rice wine, and a lot of food. There will definitely be a lot of drinking that day. I see. Tang Xiaoxi pouted. I thought Mu could celebrate the Spring Plowing Festival with me. Lin Muyu suddenly thought of Tang Xiaoxi's background. Although she was the princess of Qihai City, she had to stay in Lanyan City to celebrate such a festival. Actually, Tang Xiaoxi should be very lonely, right? So Lin Muyu put down her pen and said with a smile, If Xiaoxi doesn't mind, you can bring a few guards to the Divine Sanctum to celebrate the Spring Plowing Festival with me. We won't go home until we're drunk. Can I? Why not? I have the final say in the Divine Sanctum now. Then it's a deal. At noon during the Spring Plowing Festival, His Majesty should be hosting a banquet to entertain the officials. With our status, you and I will definitely be invited. We will celebrate the festival at noon at the Zetian Palace, and at night at the Divine Sanctum. All right, I will get someone to prepare a room for you in the Divine Sanctum. All right, Xiaoxi. Tang Xiaoxi jumped off the desk and looked up at him. Don't tell anyone about me using four-dimensional energy to cut through space. It will be very disadvantageous for me. I know. Xiaoxi is very sensible. Haha, that's good. I will continue with my work. You can wander around the Divine Sanctum for a while. I will accompany you when I'm done. All right. As soon as Tang Xiaoxi left, a Divine Sanctum guard stepped into the office and said respectfully, Deacon Lin, he said that someone from the Longdan Army camp is looking for you. His name is Fengxi. Can you let him in? Fengxi is here? Lin Muyu was taken aback. She smiled and said, All right, let him in. Yes. Not long after, Fengxi walked in a mercenary outfit. He even wore the badge of the Longdan Army camp's vice-captain. He smiled respectfully and said, Thank you for your hard work, Captain. You must be bored from reading scrolls every day. Lin Muyu stood up and smiled. Fengxi is here? This way. Someone bring some tea. There's no need for the trouble, Captain. Fengxi cupped his fists and sat down on a chair. He said, I have 2 matters to discuss with you. Oh, what are they? Just yesterday, a man came to Dragon Rocky Mountain and took Hu Xiaoyan away. What? Lin Muyu suddenly stood up. Her face was full of shock. Fengxi, you mean? Long Qianlin is not dead and has returned to Lanyan City? Did something happen? Was he discovered? Yes, everything is safe. Fengxi nodded and said, General Long Qianlin came to Lanyan City in disguise. It is said that he has settled down in Mingshan Province, one of the 4 provinces in Lingnan. He has sought refuge with his cousin, Commander Lin Yu. He came to Lanyan City to borrow Madam. He also asked me to tell you that he is deeply indebted to you and will repay you in the future. However, as a wanted criminal of the Qin Empire, he can't enter the capital to visit you. Is that so? Lin Muyu felt relieved. She smiled and said, "It's good that he is fine. Long Qianlin is a talented general. It would be a pity if he died like this." Feng Shi chuckled. "I admire you for your love of talent. But don't worry, Mingshan province is thousands of miles away from Lingbei province. The mountains are high and the roads are long. Long Qianlin will be very safe in Mingshan province." "Yes, I hope so too. What about the other matter?" "Oh, it's about attacking the Tyrannical Blade mercenary group." Feng Shi's eyes lit up. The Tyrannical Blade mercenary group has 8,000 mercenaries and is quite famous in Lingbei province. Now they want to expand their territory to Yunzhong province, which happens to be in conflict with our Longdan army camp's sphere of influence. They have already issued a letter of challenge to Longdan army camp 2 days ago. Lin Muyu narrowed her eyes. "What are the chances of Longdan army camp winning?" Feng Shi took a deep breath and said confidently, "If it's just the Tyrannical Blade mercenary group, we have a 100% chance of winning. But if this subordinate's guess is correct, the Tyrannical Blade mercenary group will join forces with the Sacred Flame mercenary group. This way, the total number of soldiers will exceed 17,000. How many soldiers does Longdan army camp have now?" "More than 15,800. Feng Shi cupped his fists and said, "Even if the number of soldiers is balanced, this subordinate can guarantee a complete victory. Under the training of Lady Luo Yu and this subordinate, Longdan army camp practices cavalry, archery, battle formations, and so on daily according to the Imperial Army standards. I believe that their combat strength is even greater than the same number of Imperial Guards. Moreover, they are well equipped, so this victory is more than 80% certain. As long as the Tyrannical Blade mercenary group and the Sacred Flame mercenary group are eliminated, our Longdan army camp will become the #1 mercenary group in Lingbei province. No one will dare to challenge us then." As he spoke, Feng Shi grinned and said, "However, there is a more troublesome matter. The Flying Mount camp of the Imperial capital's garrison is less than 5 miles away from our Dragon Rocky Mountain. After all, this is a fight between 3 large mercenary groups for territory. Once the Imperial Army is alerted, I'm afraid that the Flying Mount camp will not sit idly by and watch us continue to grow stronger. Don't worry about this. Good news. Online Games Reigning the World has officially been published. You can directly search for Online Games Reigning the World on Dangdang and Taobao. Students who want to relive and collect the stories of Shu Yu by Scholar, Ling Shui, Ling Yu, and Ice-T, don't miss it. Chapter 260. Lin Muyu took a sip of tea and said, "The commander of the Flying Mount camp, Chu Huai, is my elder brother. As long as I write a letter, he will not touch the Longdan army camp. Don't worry." "That's great." Feng Shi smiled and said, "Madam, do you know who's backing the Blade Mercenary Corps and the Sacred Flame Mercenary Corps?" "I do." Lin Muyu said faintly. The commander of the Sacred Flame Mercenary Corps was originally a Chiliarch of the God Might Battalion. He only joined the Sacred Flame Mercenary Corps after committing a crime. The Divine Marquis Zheng Yifan is undoubtedly the backing of this mercenary corps. As for the Blade Mercenary Corps, their weapons, rations, armors, and pay all come from the Imperial General's residence. This mercenary corps is probably Yuanxia's private army. Since Madam knows. Feng Shi's expression was solemn. "Do we still want to fight?" "Don't worry." Lin Muyu leisurely leaned on the chair and said, "The Empire's laws prohibit the cultivation of private armies. Both Yuanxia and Zheng Yifan are aware of this rule. Therefore, the Empire's army will not easily participate in battles between mercenary corps. Of course, I used the Flying Mount camp to help Dragon Rocky Mountain because I have the Dragon Talisman. Although Yuanxia is the Imperial General, he doesn't have any military power. There's no need to be afraid of him." Feng Shi nodded and said, "But what if Divine Marquis Zheng Yifan uses the God Might Battalion to help?" "The God Might Battalion?" Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, "If Zheng Yifan really uses the God Might Battalion to attack the Empire's registered mercenary corps, he will be breaking the law knowingly. Go all out and fight. As long as you can destroy the God Might Battalion, it's worth it even if the entire Longdan army camp is destroyed." Feng Shi was stunned. "Madam, the Longdan army camp is your blood and sweat. So what? The God Might Battalion will always be a disaster if they stay in Lanyan City. I have long wanted to remove this poisonous thorn, but I didn't have an excuse. That's good. I will do it immediately. Okay, go. After Feng Shi left, Lin Muyu still leaned back in her chair, and countless thoughts flashed through her mind. Lanyan City was the capital of the empire, and the collision between mercenary groups was also the fiercest among the 12 provinces. But after all, it was a duel between mercenary groups of more than 10,000 people, and this kind of battle was no different from a war. It was hard to say whether the officials of Yunzhong Commandery and Sungnan Province would regulate it. Moreover, the empire didn't allow mercenary groups to develop freely. In fact, all the major mercenary groups had backers in the imperial court. This was also one of the main reasons why the founding emperor, Qin Yi, had formulated the mercenary strategy. Once the empire's rule was threatened, these registered mercenary groups could be incorporated into the empire's army at any time to strengthen the army. Lin Muyu created the Longdan army camp just for this day. After all, as the emperor's godson, he was very famous, but the number of troops he had was pitifully small. The Eagle's Nest Battalion had 700 people at most, and the Divine Temple had less than 1,000 people. Compared to Feng Jixing, who had 30,000 imperial guards, and Chu Huaying, who had 17,000 flying cavalry battalion, he was really inferior. But once the Longdan army camp was officially incorporated into the empire's army, Lin Muyu could only be the commander. When that time came, he would have 15,000 elite troops, and he would have the confidence to speak. At this moment, the guard of the Divine Temple outside the door reported again. Deacon Lin, the messenger from Zetian Palace is here. Let him in. Yes. An attendant of Zetian Palace pushed open the door and entered. He said respectfully, Madam Lin Muyu, according to His Majesty's Imperial Edict, he invites you to Zetian Palace in the morning of the day after tomorrow to participate in the spring plowing ceremony. Okay, I got it. Thank you. Madam, you're too polite. I'll take my leave. I won't see you out. At night, she brought Tang Xiaoxi to look for Chu Yao for a meal. This time, it was Tang Xiaoxi who was treating. On the other hand, Chu Yao and Tang Xiaoxi had finally become familiar with each other after meeting a few times. Moreover, Chu Yao and Lin Muyu addressed each other as brother and sister, which indeed made Tang Xiaoxi feel much more relaxed towards Chu Yao. She felt that this beauty, who was known as the #1 beauty in the spiritual medicine division, would no longer snatch her man away, so she became especially friendly with her. Time passed quickly, and on the second day, Lin Muyu received a letter from Luoyu. The Longdan Army Camp, the Tyrannical Blade Mercenary Corps, and the Sacred Flame Mercenary Corps were about to engage in a battle on the plains southwest of the dragon-seeking forest. This battle would determine who would be the king of mercenaries in the imperial capital. It also meant that Lin Muyu's private army would challenge the Divine Marquis residents and the Lord Protector's residents as mercenaries. Whoever won would have more authority in the imperial court. On the third day, the spring plowing festival. Early in the morning, Lin Muyu got up early to wash up. The weather had also become warmer, and the flowers were fragrant, and the weather had also become warmer. She was in a particularly good mood, and even washed her hair. Her short hair glowed faintly under the sunlight. Looking at herself in the mirror, her hair had grown longer and looked a little non-mainstream. Although it was said that the women in the imperial capital liked handsome men with long hair, such as Feng Jixing, Chu Huayin, and the others who had their long hair tied up in a bun or braided into some nice-looking ends, Lin Muyu was not used to it. He was the only high-ranking general in Lanyan City who liked short hair. Deacon Guiyang, can you help me cut my hair? Lin Muyu smiled and said, I'll be in good spirits. Guiyang smiled and nodded. All right, this old man is going to cut you's hair again. However, Guiyang did not even use the scissors. He raised his finger lightly, and his fighting aura turned into a sharp blade. With a swoosh, he cut off the hair that had grown out of Lin Muyu's hair. His knife technique was exceptionally sharp, and not long after, a new hairstyle was done. Although it was not neat, Lin Muyu was naturally handsome, and this made him look casual and unrestrained. He tucked the Divine Temple's silver helmet under his armpit and flipped onto his horse. He smiled and said, Grandpa Guyang, I'm going to participate in the spring plowing ceremony. You've also received the invitation, right? I'll wait for you at Zetian Palace. Guyang smiled lightly. All right, this old man will go later. Deacon Yu, you go first. Lin Muyu spurred his horse forward, and very soon, Qin Yan also followed. As the son of Prince Jining, he naturally had to participate. The journey was very lively, and the citizens of Lanyan City were decorated with lanterns and streamers. Qin Yan smiled and said, Big brother, the sword absorption technique that you displayed last time. I still haven't mastered it. Tell me about it when there's a chance. Amen, we'll talk about it when there's time. All right, thank you very much, big brother. Heh. Qin Yan was still a martial arts fanatic as always. His obsession with martial arts caused his cultivation to be second only to Lin Muyu among the younger generation of the Divine Hall, and there were faint signs of him catching up. It was said that he was already about to break through to the first layer of the heavenly realm at any time. To have such a realm at such a young age, this was something that Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, Qin Lei, and the others could not compare to. Outside the Zetian Palace Hall, there was a sea of people praying for blessings. Just today, Qin Jin was going to hold the spring plowing ceremony together with Her Highness Yin, praying for blessings for all the people in the world. The square was already about to be drowned by the sea of people. Lin Muyu, Qin Yan, and the others could only get off their horses and squeeze in step by step, leading their horses. Days like this, it was as if all the soldiers had lost their dignity and were joyful with the people. After entering the outer city of the Zetian Palace Hall, Qin Yan's weapons and spatial pouch were all confiscated. The laws were strict, and only the imperial guards and commander-level officers had the right to bring weapons into the Zetian Palace Hall, so he could only do this. After handing the war horses to the servants, Lin Muyu brought Qin Yan into the palace. The palace was also filled with a sea of people, and those who were invited were either important officials in the imperial court, or the descendants of emperors, generals, and ministers. Qin Jin sat on the throne, while Qin Yin stood at the side in a luxurious princess cloak. When she saw Lin Muyu from afar, she immediately walked down the steps and held his hand intimately. Big brother Yu, I heard that you've been annoyed to death by reading through files recently. Hee, you can take advantage of this opportunity to have a good rest. Happy spring plowing day, big brother Yu. Lin Muyu could not help but smile. Happy spring plowing day too, Xiaoyin. Come with me quickly, let's pray for father. All right. Qin Yin held his hand and walked up the steps. Lin Muyu bowed and said, Lin Muyu prays for father, may father live a long, healthy and boundless life. Qin Jin could not help but burst into laughter. Good job, you. Lin Muyu nodded, not knowing what else to say that would be more appropriate. However, with a sweep of her gaze, she saw that the gazes of quite a few descendants of the aristocrats in the palace were already enough to kill. Qin Yin was the #1 beauty of Lanyan City, and also the successor of her clan. Be it in terms of appearance or status, she was an existence that everyone revolved around. But now, this #1 beauty of the empire was actually being so intimate with Lin Muyu. How could this not make those young aristocrats who saw Qin Yin as their dream lover not feel envy, jealousy, and hatred? Fortunately, Qin Jin came to the rescue at this moment, saying, You, the palace will only start in a while. You and Xiaoyin, follow father to the rear palace. I've stewed some lotus seed soup this morning. It has the effect of clearing the heart and soothing the qi. Come over and have a taste. Yes, father. Lin Muyu respectfully followed the emperor and the princess into the rear palace, causing countless people's eyes to turn red. However, this was the privilege of being the emperor's godson. It seemed that Qin Jin was also intentionally or unintentionally telling everyone how highly he regarded this godson of the emperor, and not just giving him a simple title. Lin Muyu could not see through Qin Jin. It was getting more and more difficult to see through him. Qin Jin's culinary skills were well known throughout the world. The bowl of lotus seed soup he made was also very exquisite, and its aroma filled the air. Lin Muyu sat down and respectfully took a sip. She smiled and said, It's really sweet. Qin Jin also smiled. Then drink more. Yes, father. After drinking 2 full bowls, Lin Muyu was worried that she would not be able to hold in her pee during the spring plowing ceremony later. So she did not dare to continue drinking. She respectfully said, "Father, I'm full now." Qin Jin smiled and personally helped Lin Muyu clear away the bowls and chopsticks. Qin Yin sat at the side and said with a light smile, "Big brother Yu, is it because the matters in the holy temple are very complicated? I heard from Xiaoxi that you're so worried that your hair is about to turn white." "Haha, it's all right." "Oh right." After Qin Jin handed the bowls and chopsticks to the attendant, he turned around and said with a smile, "You, I heard that you've raised a mercenary group called the Longdan Army Camp, and that they already have over 10,000 soldiers. Is that true?" His gentle words sent a chill down Lin Muyu's spine. Chapter 261. Countless thoughts flashed through her mind. Lin Muyu knew that with Qin Jin's shrewdness, there was no way she could deceive him. Thus, she could only tell the truth. Yes, Longdan Army Camp was indeed single-handedly nurtured by me. Qin Jin sat down and slowly pushed a cup of tea in front of Lin Muyu. Then, what was Yu's original intention in founding Longdan Army Camp? Can you tell Imperial Father? Original intention? Lin Muyu was silent for a moment. Perhaps it was to protect the Empire's territory. Speak the truth. Qin Jin's voice was a little more forceful, and his eyes were filled with an irresistible sharpness. At the side, Qin Yin said, "Imperial Father, why are you questioning you like this? Xiaoyin, don't say anything first. Let me finish speaking with your brother first." "Yes." Qin Jin continued to look at Lin Muyu. "You, although you are my adopted son, I, Qin Jin, truly regard you as my own son. I hope that you can be honest with Imperial Father. Is that all right? Tell me, what was your original intention in founding Longdan Army Camp? Answer me truthfully. No matter what you say, Imperial Father will not blame you." Lin Muyu's brows furrowed tightly. After a few seconds of silence, she raised her head to look at Qin Jin. "I founded Longdan Army Camp so that I would no longer be bullied and humiliated, so that I would no longer be at the mercy of others. I founded Longdan Army Camp so that I could have an army of my own, so that I could protect the people I care about. If one day my ability is no longer enough to protect Xiaoyin, there is still Longdan Army Camp to protect her. It's that simple. Whoever dares to bully me, Lin Muyu, or the people I care about, Longdan Army Camp will annihilate them. Imperial Father, are you satisfied with this answer?" Qin Jin stared at him in shock. After a full half a minute, he suddenly laughed and said, You Imperial Father really can't see through you. However, this answer, Imperial Father likes it very much. It's straightforward and responsible." As he spoke, Qin Jin stood up and gently pressed his hand on Lin Muyu's shoulder. He said, "This is how the son of the King of Light should be. Whoever dares to bully you and Xiaoyin, use the Longdan Army Camp to exterminate them." Lin Muyu's belly full of worry could finally be put down. She nodded and said, "Imperial Father is wise." Qin Yin finally smiled and patted her chest. "I was scared to death. I thought Imperial Father and you would fight." Qin Jin laughed heartily. "How could that be possible? You is my son. Besides, Imperial Father has almost no cultivation at all, while you is well versed in ultimate techniques. How could Imperial Father possibly be a match for him?" Lin Muyu smiled and said, "You're joking, Imperial Father." However, he knew that there were at least 50 Imperial Forest Guards protecting the rear hall. As long as Qin Jin gave the order, even if he was at the second level of the Heaven Realm, he would probably die here. The absolute advantage in numbers was not something that could be resolved with simple strength. At this time, Qin Jin asked again, "You, if the Empire really needs the Longdan Army Camp one day, will you sacrifice yourself for it?" Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said, "The Longdan Army Camp is filled with the courage of the dragon. For the sake of the world and righteousness, what harm is there in sacrificing myself for a battle?" "Good." Qin Jin nodded and smiled. "Good, well said." In fact, he was somewhat displeased because Lin Muyu deliberately avoided the topic, and only said that the Longdan Army Camp was willing to fight for the sake of the world and righteousness. She did not say that the Longdan Army Camp was willing to fight for the Empire. This also meant that Lin Muyu was not truly loyal to the empire, but to the justice in her heart. However, Qin Jin did not point it out. After all, he could see that Lin Muyu was attached to Qin Yin. The deep love in her eyes could not lie, and that was enough. Being loyal to Qin Yin was equivalent to being loyal to the empire. Not long after, they returned to the main hall. The spring plowing ceremony was about to begin. Lin Muyu remained by Qin Yin's side as a member of the Imperial Guard. She closely protected her and Qin Jin as they walked out of the Zetian Palace. It was noon, and 100 war drums thundered in the square of the Zetian Palace. The moment they saw the emperor and the princess walk out of the palace, the citizens raised their arms and cheered excitedly. Qin Jin slowly walked up to the high platform and gestured with his eyes. That's enough. Feng Jixing held a scroll in his hand and walked in front of the emperor. He imbued his battle aura in his voice and read out loud. The Qin Empire's radiant emperor pays his respects. For the past year, the empire has enjoyed a bountiful harvest, the weather has been favorable, the seas have been at peace, and the people have been at peace. Now the people are praying for the blessings of the spring plowing season. As he read, he proudly brushed his cloak with the air of a general. Chu Huayin, who was beside Lin Muyu, smiled and said, Feng Jixing has such a loud voice. His Majesty has chosen the right person to read out the imperial edict. There are tens of thousands of people in the square, and Feng Jixing's voice stands out from the rest. Lin Muyu nodded. Yes, not only is his voice loud, but he also eats a lot. The last time I treated him to a meal, he ate 8 bowls of rice. I suspect that he had been starving for 3 or 4 days before I treated him. That must be the case. He's that kind of person. Chu Huayin chuckled. At this moment, Feng Jixing paused in his reading. He lowered his voice and said, If you 2 rascals continue to slander me like this, I will ask His Majesty to make a decision and confiscate your salary for a year. Qin Jin coughed. General Feng, please continue reading. Be more serious. Qin Yin burst into laughter. Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but smile as well. Feng Jixing continued to read out the imperial edict. It took him nearly 10 minutes to finish reading. Then, he handed the imperial edict to an official and led a cow over. He smiled and said, Your Majesty, the ceremony can begin. Yes. Qin Jin held Qin Yin's hand as they walked down the high platform. Below the platform was a patch of green land. Qin Jin held onto the iron plow while Qin Yin walked in front, ignoring the mud on her little white boots as she led the oxen. Just like that, the father and daughter imitated the farmers as they plowed the land. Tang Xiaoxi, on the other hand, carried some purple yin flower seeds and followed behind them, scattering them into the soil. Lin Muyu and Chu Huayin stood guard on both sides of the small patch of green land. There were also a dozen or so dragon guards standing guard with cold gazes. This place was very close to the crowd of commoners, less than 100 meters away. It was already within the shooting range of some godly archers. They could be attacked at any time by people with ill intentions. Buzz buzz. Lin Muyu placed her right hand on the hilt of her sword while her left hand was hidden in her cloak. The energy of the golden gourd circulated rapidly. She was ready to summon the walls of the gourd to protect Qin Jin, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi at any time. Fortunately, everything went smoothly. The spring plowing ceremony ended after an hour. The emperor and princess had already rejoiced with the people and returned to Zetian Palace for a banquet. It's finally time to eat. Feng Jixing smiled at Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu held back her laughter. You didn't eat breakfast just to eat more? Yes. What about you? I didn't eat either. Then eat more later. The food for the spring plowing festival is very sumptuous. Yes, I know that. Lin Muyu pursed her lips and said, In order to prepare this meal, the Eagle Nest camp has entered the dragon forest to hunt more than once. 2 of them were even injured. Feng Jixing couldn't help but laugh. Oh, since when did Commander Lin care so much about the work of his subordinates? Isn't it because I have to go through the files every day? Ha ha ha. Feng Jixing rubbed his nose and said, You need a secretary. Otherwise, if you do everything yourself, you won't have time to cultivate. I have a total of 4 secretaries in the Imperial Army's tent. Do you want to lend 2 of them to you? The monthly commission is 50,000 Jinin coins. You're robbing me. I'll go through the files myself. Tisk so petty. At this moment, a messenger bird suddenly flapped its wings and landed on Lin Muyu's shoulder. It was a messenger bird domesticated by the Longdan army camp. She took out the letter from the bamboo tube and glanced at it. As expected, it was Luo Yu's report of victory. My lord, in the battle from yesterday to this morning, the Longdan army camp has achieved a great victory. We successfully defeated the Tyrant Blade mercenary group and the Sacred Flame mercenary group, captured more than 8,000 people, and killed more than 4,000 people. We ourselves lost more than 2,000 people, but the losses will be replenished with captives. At this point, the Longdan army camp is the strongest mercenary group in the empire. Lin Muyu was overjoyed. She took out the pen she used to go through the files and replied, "Well done. Immediately rest and adjust the troops." The messenger bird flew away. Not far away, Divine Marquis Zheng Yifan and Minister Luo Xing were walking together. When Zheng Yifan saw Lin Muyu, his expression clearly didn't look too good. He faintly said, "My lord, Lin Muyu is riding on the crest of success. I heard that your private army, the Longdan army camp, defeated 2 large mercenary groups in the North Ridge province in the morning battle. Congratulations." Lin Muyu cupped her fists and smiled. Marquis must be joking. I don't even know what the Longdan army camp is. Moreover, I'm an upright person and have never had a private army. In the entire Qin Empire, only the Marquis has the right to raise a private army. This is something that everyone knows. As a general of the empire, Lin Muyu naturally wouldn't break the law. Zheng Yifan raised his eyebrows and smiled. That's good. On the other hand, Zheng Fang, who was standing beside Zheng Yifan, looked at Chu Huayin angrily and sneered. Congratulations to my lord Chu for being promoted to the commander of the Flying Mount camp. I've been too busy these days and didn't have the time to congratulate you. Oh right, my sister Zheng Xiang also heard about your promotion to commander. She asked me, as her younger brother, to congratulate you on her behalf. Chu Huayin's face turned pale. He suddenly stepped forward and blocked Zheng Yifan's path. He cupped his fists and said respectfully, "Marquis, although the matter between me and Miss Zheng Xiang has angered Marquis, the fault does not lie with Miss Zheng Xiang. I, Chu Huayin, had too much hope. Now that Miss Zheng Xiang is under house arrest, it's all my fault. I hope Marquis can forgive Miss Zheng Xiang." Zheng Yifan faintly smiled. "Commander Chu, you're flattering me. Zheng Xiang has been spoiled by me since she was young. I'm afraid she won't be able to enter Commander Chu's residence. Just give up, Commander." Chu Huayin frowned and cupped his fists. "Yes, as long as Marquis releases Miss Zheng Xiang, I, Chu Huayin, am willing to give up. I'd rather forget about Miss Zheng Xiang and never see each other again. Remember what you said." Zheng Yifan cupped his fists and said, "Then this old man thanks Commander Chu for your good intentions." Chu Huayin stood blankly on the spot. His extraordinarily handsome yet disappointed look made countless noble ladies' hearts ache. One by one, they crowded around him as if they wanted to comfort him. However, they didn't expect Chu Huayin to turn around and leave without even looking at them. Chapter 262. Lin Muyu originally wanted to accompany Chu Huayin for a drink or two, but before he could even drink a cup of wine, Chu Huayin had already drunk 2 cups of wine. In less than 10 minutes, he had already finished a pot of wine. His frown made others sigh. But what could they do? In this world, whether it was power, status, or reputation, which one of them wasn't more important than love? Love in this chaotic world was like a fallen leaf that drifted with the wind. How many people could have it? Not long after, Chu Huayin was dead drunk. Feng Jixing immediately ordered 2 imperial guards to send him back to the imperial army's barracks to rest. He and Lin Muyu carefully protected the emperor and the princess. Fortunately, the banquet didn't last too long. It ended around 2 in the afternoon. Qin Jin was feeling unwell and left early. After that, the officials took their leave one by one. After sending off a large group of nobles and officials, Lin Muyu led the warhorse and personally sent Qin Yin back to Phoenix Perching Hall. Meanwhile, Wei Chou and Xiaohosang were responsible for escorting Tang Xiaoxi back to the duke's residence. Phoenix Perching Hall was very secluded. With the arrival of spring, it was filled with birdsong and fragrant flowers. Most of the maids in the imperial palace were arranged to stay in Phoenix Perching Hall. Qinyin didn't have many maids in her own bedroom. A group of maids came up from afar and escorted Qinyin into the hall. As an official, it didn't seem appropriate for Lin Muyu to enter. Thus she cupped her fists and said, "Xiaoyin, I'll see you off here." Qinyin turned around and blinked at him. "Brother Yu, aren't you going to have some tea in Phoenix Perching Hall before leaving?" "No, there are still many things to take care of in the Divine Palace. I won't be going in. I'll come back to Zetian Hall to see you." "And all right." Qinyin smiled and gracefully bowed to Lin Muyu. She smiled and said, "If Brother Yu doesn't come to see Xiaoyin for too long, then Xiaoyin will have to personally go to the Divine Palace to see you." Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. "All right, as long as Xiaoyin is happy. I'll be leaving now." "Yes." He mounted the horse and galloped away. Today was the Spring Plowing Festival, the busiest festival of the year in the empire. Tongtian Street was bustling with activity in the afternoon. Performers, singers, and lanterns could be seen everywhere. The streets were bustling with activity, to the point that Lin Muyu had no choice but to dismount and lead her warhorse through the crowd. On the other hand, a group of commoners were shocked to see such a high-ranking military officer walking through the crowd. After passing through the busiest part of the Zetian Temple, it was finally quieter. There were many stalls selling candied haws, windmills, sugar figurines, and other small things on the side of the road. Lin Muyu reached out to support the horse's back and leaped onto it. Just as she was about to spur the horse forward, a group of people suddenly came from the front. They were people from the general's mansion, and the person in the lead was Yuan Lian. He was holding a rope in his hand, and the end of the rope was tied around the neck of a bloodthirsty tiger cub. "Halt!" Yuan Lian suddenly pointed at Lin Muyu on the horse and said with a smile, "General Zhennan has such an imposing manner." "What? Don't tell me you don't recognize us." "Of course I do." Lin Muyu smiled slightly. "Young General Yuan has always been well." "Heh." The corner of Yuan Lian's mouth rose, and he said with a smile, "Lin Muyu, don't ask hypocritically. Have you forgotten the bet between us? It's been a month. I wonder if that so-called dragon egg of yours has hatched anything yet. It wouldn't have hatched a dog, would it?" "Ha ha ha." The group of attendants and servants around Yuan Lian also laughed. The only one who didn't laugh was Ling Feng, the son of Zhennan General Ling Nantian. This group of generals' sons had always been known as Tiger Sons of Generals in Lanyan City. They hung out all day, and although they didn't have any ranks in the army, their status couldn't be ignored. Lin Muyu was startled. She finally remembered that there was indeed such an agreement. She glanced at Yuan Lian's bloodthirsty tiger. It was just a cub that wasn't even a year old. Although its claws had already matured, it was nothing compared to Little Apple. Dismounting from the horse, Lin Muyu smiled and said, "You really want to compete? If you want to compete, let's do it here." Yuan Lian sneered and said, "The crux of the matter is whether your dragon egg hatched a pet or not." "Yes, give me a moment." Lin Muyu tied the horse to a wooden stake at the side and stepped into the alley. Suddenly, her entire temperament changed. Taking advantage of the fact that Yuan Lian and the others didn't come over to watch, she let out a low roar and activated her four-dimensional power. Immediately, lightning flashed, and her spiritual sense broke out of her body, creating a spatial crack 17 meters away. "Whoa!" The Acatosaurus lazily pressed its front paw on the spatial crack and poked its head out to look outside, as if it didn't want to come out at all. Lin Muyu immediately used her spiritual sense and said to it, "Come out for me. It's time to come out and stretch your limbs. When you see that bloodthirsty tiger later, just kill it directly. Don't be shy, you're younger than it, but don't show off too much, understand?" Little Apple flipped over and fell from the spatial crack, crying out in pain. It was simply too stupid, and its body had become a lot more bloated. It had eaten a lot. Lin Muyu knew that it was a kind of fruit that grew on a tree in the wasteland of an alternate dimension. It had a very unpleasant smell, but this Acatosaurus seemed to like it. She turned around and walked out of the alley with the Acatosaurus. Pata! While walking, suddenly, the little dragon's front paw stepped on empty air and fell to the ground. Its sharp beak hit a mouthful of mud. It whimpered and used its front paw to poke at the mud. It sat on the ground with its hind legs like a stupid dog. Lin Muyu was dumbfounded and thought to herself, "Good heavens, I told you not to show off too much, and you actually acted like this? What a good actor. This grandson's future is limitless." Yuan Lian, Lingfeng, and the others laughed. Lingfeng said, "Lady Lin Muyu, what hatched from your dragon egg?" "It's probably an earth lizard." Lin Muyu touched her nose and said, "In short, it doesn't look like a dragon no matter how I look at it." Yuan Lian said with a smile, "I'm afraid it's not as simple as an earth lizard, but an extremely stupid earth lizard, right?" Lin Muyu was not angry and said with a smile, "Young general, do you still want to compete?" "Of course, why not?" Yuan Lian's face turned cold and said, "But Lin Muyu, you have to be careful. My bloodthirsty tiger already has the ability of flame blast. Be careful not to roast your lizard with a mouthful of fire. At that time, I won't be responsible for compensating you 20,000 gold coins. Instead, you'll have to pay me 50,000 gold coins." Lin Muyu nodded. "No problem, if your bloodthirsty tiger can really roast it, I'll grab a handful of cumin and share it with everyone. How about it?" "Ha ha ha, you're really interesting," Yuan Lian ordered. "Everyone move aside, prepare for the beast fight." Everyone formed a circle, and the commoners nearby also gathered around to watch the show. Their faces were full of joy and they were discussing spiritedly, "Oh my, someone's fighting again. I wonder what the stakes are this time. I think it's General Yuan Xie's son. That bloodthirsty tiger is a legendary beast. Ordinary people can't even get close to it. The other person seems to be someone from the Holy Temple, and he's even a deacon. Wow, the Holy Temple against the General's mansion. Interesting, interesting. I wonder if that lizard can beat the bloodthirsty tiger. That lizard looks incredibly stupid. I don't think it's a match. After all, how can a lizard be a match for a tiger? Not to mention the bloodthirsty tiger king. Ha ha ha, just wait for the show. Bloodthirsty tiger, prepare to attack," Yuan Lian said as he rubbed the bloodthirsty tiger's head. However, the bloodthirsty tiger was naturally fierce, and it did not have a soul contract with Yuan Lian. It turned around and bit Yuan Lian's palm. Fortunately, Yuan Lian's cultivation was not bad, and he easily dodged the bite. However, he could not help but feel a little embarrassed. In comparison, the Acatosaurus was much more obedient. It sat on its hind legs, its front paws supporting itself, and its head swayed back and forth. It blinked its large eyes at Lin Muyu, and its tail swept the ground. "Go on, fight." Lin Muyu glared at it. The Acatosaurus immediately rushed out and roared at the bloodthirsty tiger as if provoking it. On the other hand, the bloodthirsty tiger, as the Tiger King, also roared. The two vicious beasts did not look like they were fighting one-on-one, but more like they were acting cute. Yuan Lian sneered, "Lin Muyu, if your lizard is really killed, don't regret it." "Don't worry, I won't regret it." Lin Muyu crossed her arms in front of her chest, lazily watching the scene of the beast battle. Finally, the bloodthirsty tiger took the initiative to attack. With a roar, its entire body ignited with raging flames. It pounced forward, raised its front paws, and swatted at the Acatosaurus. The onlookers all screamed. A bloodthirsty tiger that was not even a year old could have such a powerful attack. It was really not simple. However, the crowd seemed to have overlooked the 5 silver lines on the Acatosaurus's head. How could a 500-year-old spirit beast be afraid of a bloodthirsty tiger that was not even a year old? Moreover, the Acatosaurus was actually very smart. When it fell to the ground, it had used the soil to hide its 500-year-old spirit beast mark. Facing the bloodthirsty tiger's attack, it directly twisted its body and wrapped its tail around its head. Its entire body shrunk into a ball, and it used its red crystal scales to resist the bloodthirsty tiger's attack. Pa! The bloodthirsty tiger's fierce slap sent the Acatosaurus flying like a frisbee. It slammed into the wall and bounced back. It looked like it would not survive for long. "Awoo!" The bloodthirsty tiger pressed its front paws on the ground and roared. Flame soared into the sky as it released its ability, Flame Blast. Whoosh! A fireball rushed out, heading straight for the Acatosaurus. The earth lizard is finished, Ling Feng said with wide eyes. The onlookers were also dumbfounded. They did not expect that the outcome of this beast battle would be decided so quickly. However, under everyone's gaze, the little dragon suddenly spread its body and pressed its front paws on the ground. With a roar, faint golden dragon patterns appeared on its body, and it actually collided with the energy of the flame blast. Pung! Energy splashed out. The bloodthirsty tiger's red crystal scales were extremely tough, and it directly scattered the weak flame blast attack. In the next instant, the Acatosaurus had already arrived in front of the bloodthirsty tiger, completely releasing its dragon chi. A majestic and domineering aura caused the bloodthirsty tiger to howl in fear. However, it was already too late. The Acatosaurus raised its sharp claws and attacked with its illusory claws. Blood splattered everywhere, and the bloodthirsty tiger's head split open. The little dragon was like a ferocious beast, rapidly devouring the bloodthirsty tiger's incomplete spirit stone. The onlookers were almost petrified by the scene. They all murmured, "What a ferocious earth lizard so strong." Chapter 263. Young General, you've lost. Pay up. Lin Muyu extended her hand, demanding the 50,000 Jin coins from Yuan Lian. Yuan Lian was still staring at the carcass of the bloodthirsty tiger on the ground. He had spent a lot of effort to raise this bloodthirsty tiger cub, but just a few seconds ago, it had been slaughtered by that unremarkable earth lizard. What, you can't afford to lose? Lin Muyu raised her brows, picked up the Acatosaurus's tail, and tied it to the horse's back. She smiled. If you can't afford to lose, then I'll pretend there was no such bet. I don't care about a mere 50,000 Jin coins. Cut the crap. Yuan Lian fished out 5 gold notes. Each one is 10,000 Jin coins. Watch carefully. Thank you, young general. Lin Muyu took the gold notes and stuffed them into her universe pouch without even looking at them. She cupped her hands and said, I still have matters to attend to in the holy temple. Young general, we'll meet again. She mounted her horse and galloped away. The onlookers dispersed one after another, but Yuan Lian stood where he was, so angry that his whole body was trembling. At the side, a servant whispered, Young master, these 50,000 gold notes were given to you by the old general to buy 1,000 spears from the Imperial City Chamber of Commerce. If you give it to Lin Muyu, how are we going to explain this? Explain what? Yuan Lian gritted his teeth. I'll explain it to father. What are you blabbering on about? Yes, please calm down, Major General. Yuan Lian raised his head and looked at Lin Muyu's back. Clenching his fists, he said indifferently, Lin Muyu, remember this debt well. I'll make you pay for this sooner or later. In the sacred hall, the afternoon training ended quickly. As the deacon, Lin Muyu personally guided the instructors in their training, and even explained the tricks of circulating Do Qi. Everyone listened with great interest, but the effect was probably negligible. True strength had to be experienced personally, and it was useless to just rely on oral explanations. After the trial ended, Lin Muyu returned to the office and finished reading a pile of files. She felt so tired that her entire body was exhausted. She laid down on the chair and took a short nap. Her spiritual sense slowly sank into the Yi, only to see that the second layer of the Yi had already turned into a lush green field. The 7 luminaries demon emperor was too diligent. Had he already treated Lin Muyu's second layer as a farm? Whoosh! Lin Muyu's spirit sense condensed into a physical form and fell into a paddy field. She took a deep breath and surrounded her body with battle chi. She began to absorb the spiritual energy from the paddy field. The paddy field quickly withered and dissipated, turning into spiritual energy that nourished Lin Muyu's soul and body, which had been squeezed to a pitiful state due to her cultivation. Not long after, the ground in her EC began to tremble. The spiritual field in the distance suddenly distorted. A human figure quickly condensed in the air. It was the 7 luminaries demon emperor. His complexion was many times better than before. His face was ruddy and his blood-red cloak fluttered in the wind. It seemed that the demon emperor of the past had regained 70 to 80% of his majesty. He gave off the feeling of an emperor that people had to worship. Lin Ruoji, are you here to steal my spiritual field again? The seven luminaries demon emperor asked with a smile. Lin Muyu opened her eyes. We agreed on a 50-50 split. I'm only here to collect rent. There's no such thing as stealing spiritual field. The seven luminaries demon emperor smiled and said, Lin Muyu, since you've already learned the first layer of the void-shattering godly power, do you think that this emperor has no more value? If that's the case, why don't you open your EC and let me go? I've been sealed in your EC for far too long. This is too unfair to me. No, Lin Muyu said with a cold gaze. Why not? The seven luminaries demon emperor said coldly. Do you want to imprison this emperor's divinity for the rest of my life? Lin Muyu's expression was slightly respectful as she turned around and cupped her fists. Demon Emperor, I know your ambition and your character. Now that the world is at peace and Cathay is safe, I can't imagine what will happen to this continent if you are released. Qin Yi destroyed your body. Will you let the Qin family go? About this, the seven brilliance demon monarch let out a calm smile. That won't happen. I'll be honest with you, even though Qin Yi is dead, that old prick has been stubbornly trying to hunt me down for hundreds of years. I'll need his descendants to pay for it. Once I regain my body and my strength, I'll surely kill every single member of the Qin clan. However, I also know that you like that little princess, Qin Yin. This emperor can promise you that I won't touch a single hair on Qin Yin. What do you think? Lin Muyu turned around and looked at him. No. Demon Emperor, you're wrong. As long as you have killing intent in your heart, I won't let you leave my EC. If I die one day, I will take you to hell with me. You, the seven luminaries demon emperor was so angry that his face turned red. I don't know how to repay kindness. I taught you so many abilities and you treat me like this? Consider it as me owing you. Lin Muyu leaped up and her body slowly rose up. The image of a golden dragon lingered around her. However, this is my EC. Everything is decided by me. Unless you promise me that you won't kill anyone after we leave, I won't promise you anything. Alright, I promise you. The seven luminaries demon emperor waved his hand. After I find my body, I won't kill anyone. Are you satisfied now? Lin Muyu smiled. Demon Emperor, your godhead lives in my EC. Do you think I don't know what you're thinking? The anger and killing intent in your heart are surging. I know it very well. You're courting death. The seven luminaries demon emperor shouted angrily. He leaped up and starlight gathered around him. He raised his hand and struck. Seven glorious stars transformation. Lin Muyu didn't say anything. She just exerted her strength. The golden gourd came out of her body to protect her. The golden dragon that lingered around her body roared continuously. Dragon power was added to the walls of the gourd, forcefully blocking the energy of the seven luminaries demon emperor's seven glorious stars transformation. She wasn't hurt at all. She looked at the seven luminaries demon emperor with a smile. You have divine power, so do I. You have the seven luminaries' profound energy, but you're just a soul. I have a complete body. Moreover, you're just a parasite in my EC. Do you think you can still kill me? The seven luminaries demon emperor trembled with anger. Stinking brat, Lin Ruoji, just you wait. One day, this emperor will twist your head off. Let's see how you can still be with that Qin Yin. Lin Muyu flew out and his spiritual sense left his EC. He took a deep breath. After absorbing the spiritual energy in the spiritual field, his whole body felt refreshed. However, the state of the seven luminaries demon emperor worried him. The seven luminaries demon emperor was a god of murder. His entire body was filled with the power of destruction. If his soul was allowed to find a new body and reconstruct his godhead, this mainland would probably be beyond redemption. Although Lin Muyu was unwilling, it was really if I don't go to hell, who will? Only he had the ability to restrain the profound energy of the seven luminaries demon emperor. Only he could stop this catastrophe. Lin Muyu took a deep breath. The afternoon sun shone lazily on his body. Specks of light elemental spirits jumped happily in the air. Lin Muyu gently opened his hand. The golden martial soul slowly appeared. Those light elemental spirits quickly gathered in his palm. In the blink of an eye, they turned into a small ball. These light elemental spirits were formless light energy. They could not be controlled, and were extremely difficult to control. Lin Muyu suddenly had an idea. He stood up and with a low shout, the wall of the gourd emerged from his body. Under the sunlight, the golden wall of the gourd shone with an extremely dazzling light. However, the sunlight eventually began to quickly penetrate the wall of the gourd and the battle aura armor, successfully shining on his body. Light could surpass all transparent matter. This was its essence. In an instant, Lin Muyu's heart was in turmoil. Ever since the gourd martial soul comprehended the light of dawn, Lin Muyu's understanding of the light element had reached a whole new realm. She could even communicate with the light elemental spirits very easily. Summoning and dispersing them was effortless. If this was the case, could she combine the law of light with her swordsmanship? Cheering in her heart, Lin Muyu immediately thought of the lightning strike. It was a simple swordsmanship that Chu Chu had taught her. Although it was simple, it could kill people in the blink of an eye. It was concise and clear. However, with the improvement of her cultivation, the lightning strike was replaced by the thunderclap violent wave. In terms of lethality and penetrative power, it was far inferior to the thunderclap violent wave. However, at this moment, Lin Muyu had a very bold idea. If the lightning element of the lightning strike was replaced by the light element, would her attack be able to penetrate the enemy's shield and battle armor like what she had seen just now? If it was really possible, perhaps even the dragon scale armor, which was known as the world's best defense, would not be able to do anything to her. Thinking up to this point, he no longer felt sleepy. He quickly pulled out the dragon spirit sword. After letting out a shout, the power of the law of light surged from his arm into the blade. Suddenly, the dragon spirit sword let out a joyous sword cry, and light slowly enshrouded it. This was the power of dawn provided by the martial soul gourd. It was just that it was contained in the blade, ready to be activated at any time. Taking a giant shield and placing it next to the office table, Lin Muyu tried to swing the sword for the first time. Buzz! The power of the law of light danced on the blade, but it did not cut through the giant shield in front of him. It seemed that the speed was not fast enough, causing the impact to be slightly weaker. No rush, no rush. Lin Muyu was confident. If speed was not enough, there was still a way to make up for it. Four-dimensional power. Using the 0.5% divine power gifted by the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor to produce four-dimensional power, it could greatly increase the speed of the law of light's operation. This might be effective. Just like that, he swung the sword again and again, but he failed again and again. Although Lin Muyu's idea was bold and novel, it was also extremely difficult to achieve. This was destined to be a very arduous process of self-creation. Chapter 264. For 5 consecutive days, Lin Muyu had been immersed in the research and creation of the use of light elemental energy. Initially, when she slashed down with her sword, only the sword chi would blow on the shield. The light elemental rule power did not affect it at all. However, Lin Muyu used the four-dimensional power to constantly accelerate the speed of the light elemental energy in the blade. Finally, on the second day, she was able to produce a light elemental righteous force. On the third day, every time she slashed down with her sword, the light elemental energy had already shown signs of leaving the blade. On the 5th day, he had achieved great success. Shwa! The blade fell heavily. The moment it approached the shield, it was suddenly stopped by Lin Muyu. However, the light energy contained in the blade did not stop. It directly passed through the blade and landed on the shield. Ka! A shocking scene appeared. The ray of sword chi condensed from the law of light went straight through the shield and instantly cut off a corner of the office desk. It's done. Lin Muyu was overjoyed. He wiped the sweat off his forehead. At this time, the elven female officer Lulu, whom he had not seen for a long time, flew out. She smiled and said, "Congratulations, brother, you have created a skill." Lin Muyu grinned. He suddenly realized that the word skill had become so unfamiliar. Was this / really just a simple game skill? Probably not. This was just a killing skill. Brother, what do you plan to name this skill? Lulu asked with a smile. Lin Muyu said without hesitation. Light splitting / evolved from lightning strike. I have already thought about it. Not a bad name. Lulu flew around him and said with a smile. Brother's strength is getting stronger and stronger. This is great. Lin Muyu laughed out loud. He raised his long sword and calmly launched another attack. He succeeded once again. The light-splitting sword chi pierced through the floor. Its power was astonishing. He had completely mastered the light-splitting /. The most terrifying part of the light-splitting / was that it could kill people from a distance. No matter how strong the chi of vigor or how thick the armor of the opponent was, when the light-splitting / down, it was equivalent to ignoring all of the opponent's defenses and directly striking their body. After dinner, he continued to practice and strengthen the light-splitting /. Lin Muyu had a stubborn personality. He would never be satisfied if he did not increase the lethality and speed of this move to the maximum. This was probably one of the reasons why he was able to practice to this level. He blew out the candlelight in the office, and the dragon spirit sword in his hand glowed with a faint golden light of dawn. He suddenly swung the sword, and the light-splitting sword chi flew through the air and slowly dissipated. The light-splitting / was a powerful attack, but it didn't have a long range. It was the kind of attack that had extremely high lethality within 5 meters, but outside that range, it would automatically disintegrate. Dong dong. A holy temple guard knocked on the door and said, Deacon Lin, there is someone outside the main hall looking for you. He claims to be from Heaven's Pivot Province, and has come to Lanyan City to look for you. He hopes that you can meet him. Dubhe Province? Lin Muyu frowned and said, I don't know anyone from Dubhe Province. Did you ask who it was? I didn't ask if Lord Deacon wants to see me or not. Take him to the living room. I'll be right there. Yes. Lin Muyu tidied up his attire and put on the deacon's armor. He hung the dragon spirit sword on his waist and walked out of the office with his hand on the hilt. Immediately, 2 holy temple guards followed him to the living room. The living room was brightly lit, and a gold star instructor was guarding outside the door with a steel knife. He cupped his fists respectfully and said, Deacon Lin. Yes. Lin Muyu nodded and entered the living room. He saw that it wasn't just one person, but a total of 3 people. A stooped old man with a cloak on his head sat there quietly. Behind him were 2 handsome young men. One of them looked somewhat familiar, but Lin Muyu couldn't remember where he had seen this person before. Hello, I'm Lin Muyu. May I know who you are? Lin Muyu stood respectfully in front of the old man. At this time, the old man slowly raised his head and lifted his cloak. A pale face appeared in front of Lin Muyu. He looked to be around 60 years old, but he was hale and hearty, completely different from Qin Jin's sickly complexion. His eyes shone brightly as he stood up with a smile and cupped his fists. This old man is Yuqi Tian. Greetings, Temple Deacon Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu was taken aback. Yuqi Tian? At this time, Deacon Guyang beside her was taken aback. Yuqi Tian? You your Lord Yuqi Tian? Yes, I am. How could I be wrong? Yuqi Tian smiled. This person looked like he had a powerful background. Lin Muyu turned around and asked, Deacon Guyang, I'm not very familiar with the situation in Heaven's Pivot Province. Yuqi Tian as Guyang smiled. You really don't know. The Empire's garrison in Heaven's Pivot Province is called the Heaven's Pivot Army. It has 80,000 soldiers, and the general of the Heaven's Pivot Army is this General Yuqi Tian in front of you. And General Yuqi is not only the general of the Heaven's Pivot Army, but also the head of the entire Yuqi family. He is in charge of smelting iron, alchemy, commerce, and many other areas in Heaven's Pivot Province. It can be said that 50% of the Heaven's Pivot Province's wealth and military strength belong to the Yuqi family. Lin Muyu was stunned. No matter what, he didn't dare associate this old man with the legendary Yuqi Tian. He hurriedly cupped his hands and said respectfully, Lin Muyu pays his respects to General Yuqi. Yuqi Tian smiled and stepped forward to hold Lin Muyu's arm. You don't have to be so polite. Lord Linmuyu. This old man has come to Lanyan City as a visitor, and didn't dare disturb His Majesty. Moreover, I'm here to discuss something with you, Lord Linmuyu. Oh, please speak. It's like this. Last time, Lord Linmuyu forged a purpling sword and broke the long sword forged by my son. I'm ashamed to say this. This old man has failed to teach his son well. That time, my son offended you. I hope you'll be magnanimous enough to forgive him. Linmuyu was taken aback. She raised her head to look at the young men behind Yu Qitian. She finally remembered that one of them was Yu Qiyan, the fellow who had vowed to forge a sword for Qinin. So they were here for this matter. I wonder what you're looking for me for, Lord. Linmuyu pursed his lips and cursed inwardly. Sure enough, once the blacksmithing skill was revealed, it would cause trouble. Others might not know what it was, but Yu Qitian was a famous blacksmith of the present age. How could he not know? He cupped his hands and said respectfully, Old General, that purpling sword was forged by a hermit master. I don't know where he is now. You won't be able to get any information from me. Yu Qitian couldn't help but smile. Don't be nervous, Lord. This old man is here not to find him, but to find you. Oh, what do you mean? Yu Qitian smiled calmly. A straightforward man doesn't resort to insinuations. In the last few months, the Chamber of Commerce in Lanyan City has been selling some mysterious and spirit-grade weapons. The forging methods of these weapons are very unique. I've collected a few of them, and after thorough study, I found that the forging methods of the blades are different from those of any blacksmithing family on the continent. The forging methods of the blades are ingenious, and the layering of the blades has probably overturned the millennium-old way of forging weapons on the continent. Linmuyu's heart was beating like a drum. And then, Yu Qitian smiled. This method is certainly valuable, but the person's forging methods are hidden well. That's what's most valuable. I'm also right. That hermit certainly doesn't want to reveal his name, so I can't force him. But I can't return from Lanyan City empty-handed. If Lord Linmuyu knows the layering of the blades, please give it to this old man. I'll reward you handsomely. Well, Linmuyu racked her brains for a way to refuse. It was then that Yu Qitian took out a stack of gold notes from his pocket. These are the gold notes of the Imperial Gold Bank. Each one is worth 100,000 jin coins, and there are 50 of them in total. If Lord Linmuyu is willing to teach me the layering edge forging technique, I'll take these 5 million jin coins as my reward. I know that you're an expert in weaponsmithing, so I'm sure you can understand my thirst for knowledge? Linmuyu nodded. She couldn't help but be moved by the 5 million jin coins. Since old General Yu Qitian has come to Lanyan City, I won't let your trip be in vain. Please wait for a night, and I'll give you the secret manual you want tomorrow. Yes, thank you, Lord. The voice of the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor came from high. Humph, what a greedy and lecherous Lin Ruoji. Linmuyu said righteously. At most I'm greedy. Am I lecherous? You aren't. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor said bluntly. That night at the Umbrella Dragon Tavern, do you dare say that your hands never touched Qin Yin's breasts? Linmuyu was speechless. That was an accident. An explanation is a cover-up. Greedy and lecherous Lin Ruoji. CNM. Are you mad? Greedy and lecherous, exasperated, immoral Lin Ruoji. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor laughed proudly. He almost sang these words out loud. Linmuyu couldn't be bothered with him anymore. She thought to herself that one day, she would have to get the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor out of Yihai. Otherwise, her every word and action would be seen through by another person. It was a weird feeling. Yu Qitian, Yu Qiyan and a dozen or so retainers stayed in the post house, waiting for Linmuyu's reply. Naturally, Linmuyu couldn't find that hermit expert because he was the one. However, he had no choice but to betray his own principles for the sake of these 5 million Jin-in coins. 5 million Jin-in coins. Even if he sold the entire Kathaya city, it wouldn't be worth this much money. 5 million Jin-in coins was equivalent to half of the Imperial Merchant Guild's output. Thus, he didn't sleep for long that night. He burned the candle and read through the night, letting Lulu verbally relay all the details and methods of refining weapons into a book. There were many details that even he didn't understand, because these weapon forging techniques were relatively simple and unadorned. Lin Muyu, who was closer to the truth, could directly use the refining cauldron to complete the process. It was completely different. The next day, Yu Qitian arrived with his clansmen early in the morning. When he saw the book, it was as if he had found a treasure. After skimming through it a few times, his face was full of enlightened expression. He quickly handed over 50 gold notes and said, "My lord, this old man thanks you on behalf of the entire Yuchi family." "Old general, there's no need to be so polite. After all, I'm taking the money," Lin Muyu said as he counted the gold notes. "In that case, this old man and the others will take their leave immediately." "I won't see you out," Lin Muyu nodded. Everyone had their own thoughts. Yu Qitian planned to return to Heaven's Pivot Province as soon as possible to restore the reputation of the world's #1 weaponsmithing family. Lin Muyu, on the other hand, wanted to use this money to continue to strengthen and expand the Longdan Army camp's military strength. Chapter 265. That night, Lanyan City was silent. In the depths of the Duke of Seven Seas mansion, Tang Xiaoxi's room was located in the most secluded corner. At this moment, the starlight from the sky shone on the ceiling as if attracted by a mysterious force. In the room, Tang Xiaoxi sat quietly on the bed. A faint flame energy lingered around her body and merged with the starlight that shone into the room. After an unknown period of time, Tang Xiaoxi suddenly opened her beautiful eyes. Starlight flowed in her palm and a beautiful seal appeared. She gently opened her hand and with a loud bang, the Star Offering Seal, the 5th level of the Firefox Seal, directly smashed the table in the room into pieces. Finally, the Star Offering Seal is complete. Tang Xiaoxi secretly rejoiced, but the raging flames around her were still swirling endlessly, and they were emitting sharp whistles. "Oh, what's wrong?" She was stunned. The next moment, she felt the blood in her body seem to be surging because of the Star Offering Seal. Her skin faintly emitted a fiery red brilliance, as if her body was about to catch fire. "Ah!" Tang Xiaoxi let out a miserable groan and curled up on the bed like an injured little beast. Her body trembled, and the flame in her body even shot out through her clothes. In the blink of an eye, the bedding and other things were all set on fire. But it seemed that this was not the end. A charming voice laughed and said in Tang Xiaoxi's body, "Release me. Release me. Who are you?" Tang Xiaoxi's eyes were filled with tears. Because of the pain, her body trembled and she asked loudly, "Who are you?" But no one answered her. Instead, the power in her body made her raise her arm involuntarily. Rays of divine light quickly gathered in her palm, and another Firefox Seal appeared. With a bang, it suddenly smashed through a corner of the roof. It was the 6th level of the Firefox Seal, the God-Gathering Seal. Ah! Tang Xiaoxi let out a miserable groan. The flame on her left arm was surging and the energy in her palm condensed into a seal, forcing her to raise her palm. The flame flourished. Boom. The entire wall turned to dust. It was the 7th level of the Firefox Seal, 5 Qi Seal. Outside the wall, the 4 Seven Seas City cavalry guards stared dumbfoundedly at the fire that lingered in the room and shouted, "Princess Shi, what's wrong with you? Princess Shi, you. Get away from me." Tang Xiaoxi ordered loudly, but these imperial cavalry were all Tang Lan's personal guards. Seeing Tang Xiaoxi in such a state, how could they leave? Ah! Tang Xiaoxi tossed and turned on the bed, endless fire intent surging out from the depths of her qi si. With a wong sound, the Firefox Seal appeared in her palm once again, soul-suppressing seal. This was a seal that even Tang Bin had not successfully cultivated. "Go!" Tang Xiaoxi shouted at the cavalry. The cavalry saw that the situation was not good and hurriedly retreated, but it was too late. The soul-suppressing seal launched an earth-shattering attack. After a loud bang, everything within a 20-meter radius was turned into ashes. None of the 4 cavalry guards survived. Tang Xiaoxi's face was covered in tears, but the flame in her body was still surging. The heaven and earth seemed to have lost their color, and the stars in the sky seemed to have dimmed. Countless stars seemed to have fallen at this moment. A Firefox Seal appeared in Tang Xiaoxi's right palm. Reincarnation seal, the strongest technique of the Seven Seas Tang sect. Boom. The entire Lanyan city seemed to be trembling. The reincarnation seal almost destroyed half of the Duke's mansion. Woo-woo. Tang Xiaoxi knelt on the ground in tears. Her body was surrounded by raging flames. She couldn't control this power. It was as if something in her body had suddenly awakened, and this power was destructive. It didn't differentiate between friend and foe. Half of the Duke's mansion's servants had already died under her Firefox seal. Hee, let me go. The seductive voice in her body sounded again. I am you and you are me. Let me go. There's no need to endure it anymore. Ah! Tang Xiaoxi hugged her head with her arms and sat there in pain, howling miserably. From afar, another group of servants rushed over and asked loudly, Princess Shi, are you all right? However, at this moment, they didn't see Tang Xiaoxi. Instead, it was a young girl kneeling in the raging flames. 9 flaming tails danced behind her, and 2 fox ears grew out of her long hair. The raging flames surrounded her, and the 9 flaming tails danced seductively, accompanied by a seductive voice. Tang Xiaoxi slowly raised her head, and her beautiful eyes were suffused with a faint golden luster. All her clothes had been burned by the raging flames, and at this moment, she was already kneeling there naked. Behind her, the 9 flaming tails swayed gently with her consciousness, but under the cover of the flames, outsiders couldn't see anything at all and didn't know that it was her. What happened to me? What happened to me? Tang Xiaoxi cried and muttered to herself. After the power in her body was released, she could feel that she had at least obtained the power of the 3rd tier of the heavenly state. But so what? She didn't look like a human at all. What's that? From afar, a group of guards watched with their mouths agape. One of them shouted in a low voice, Demon! It's a demon! Heavens, why is that 9-tailed demon in the Duke's residence? Where's Princess Shi? Hurry up, kill this demon and find Princess Shi. A few guards drew their bows and aimed at her. Tang Xiaoxi raised her head and looked at them. Her golden eyes were filled with coldness, and her lips curled into a cold smile. There was an endless murderous intent in her heart, but just as she was about to attack, Tang Xiaoxi suddenly groaned. She was restraining this crazy murderous intent. She couldn't kill anymore, or she would really become a demon. Go, we have to escape from here. Tang Xiaoxi's eyes were filled with tears. Suddenly, she turned to look in the direction of the Holy Temple and Zetian Palace. Without looking back, she dashed out. Her speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, she disappeared into the night. Her 9 fiery tails swayed irregularly. In the night, she looked so beautiful. However, this beauty was filled with killing intent. At the north gate of Yanlan City, a group of imperial guards were standing guard. It was late at night, and martial law had been imposed. Every night, Yanlan City was prohibited from entering. Hua! A fiery light appeared behind him, immediately causing the group of imperial army soldiers to be dumbfounded. It was a beautiful firefox. Under its 9 dancing tails was the form of a beautiful young lady. Although they couldn't see her clearly due to the lingering flames, they could still vaguely make out the graceful curves of her body and her unparalleled beauty. What's that? The centurion on duty roared. Demon, what kind of demon is this? Men, take her down. A group of imperial guards pulled out their swords and sabers and rushed over, but the 9-tailed fox spirit didn't pay attention to them. In a flash, she flashed through the gap between the imperial guards. She raised her right palm and whimpered. Starlight lingered in her palm. It was the star offering seal, one of the firefox seals. Bang! A large hole in the shape of the star offering seal was blasted on the heavy iron gate of Yanlan City. The 9-tailed fox spirit quickly dashed out and disappeared into the night without looking back. Under the starlight, the beautiful girl transformed into the 9-tailed fox spirit and ran wildly at the edge of the dragon-seeking forest. She closed her eyes and let her tears flow freely. The crystal-clear tears splashed on the newly grown grass in the forest, and in the blink of an eye, they turned into a flame that engulfed the grass. It was as if her entire body was filled with the power of fire. Home, where is home? On top of a giant rock in the wilderness, the girl slowly turned around. A pair of golden eyes reflected the outline of Yanlan City. Home was there, but she could never go back. After a night of drastic changes, the entire Duke of Seven Seas mansion was engulfed in a sea of fire. The fire was only extinguished in the early morning, but many of the servants had died, and the princess, Tang Xiaoxi, was nowhere to be found. Nothing could be found. Knock, knock, knock. Before the sun rose, violent knocks echoed on the gate of the holy temple. Who is it? A sleepy holy temple guard opened the peephole and looked outside. He saw a beautiful girl in a princess's cloak standing outside with a group of imperial guards. His heart skipped a beat, and he hurriedly opened the gate and knelt on the ground. Your Highness, bring me to see Lin Muyu. Qin Yin's face was gloomy. Yes. At this time, Lin Muyu had just finished one cycle of the dragon forging bone remnant scroll, and was absorbing spiritual energy from the sea spirit field to replenish her overused fighting energy. But at this time there was a violent knock on the door. The guard shouted, Deacon Lin, Her Highness Qin Yin is here to see you. Ah. Lin Muyu was dumbfounded. The sun hasn't even risen yet. Why is Xiao Yin here? Before he could open the door, a golden light suddenly cut through the room's door. Qin Yin rushed in with the purpling sword in hand and god-binding chains wrapped around her body. Her face was full of worry. What's wrong, Xiao Yin? Lin Muyu was startled, but he calmly said, Big brother you. Did you know that there was a big fire in Yanlan City last night? Qin Yin said with red eyes. Yes, I know. Did someone go to put out the fire? Where did the fire start? The Duke of the Seven Seas mansion. Tears rolled down Qin Yin's eyes. Something happened to Xiaoxi. Xiaoxi. What happened to Xiaoxi? Lin Muyu got up and hurriedly grabbed her armor and put it on. She said, Xiaoyin, tell me quickly. The Duke of the Seven Seas mansion was on fire. Xiaoxi disappeared. Someone said they saw a monster. It was a nine-tailed demon fox. Its body was covered in flames. No one dared to go near it. And last night, the same monster broke through the north gate of Yanlan City. Nine-tailed demon fox. Lin Muyu shook his head forcefully and said painfully, Who cares about the nine-tailed demon fox? What happened to Xiaoxi? Is there no trace of her? No, Xiaoxi seemed to have disappeared into thin air. Qin Yin said while crying. Lin Muyu tried his best to calm down, but how could he? There was an ominous feeling in his heart. The nine-tailed demon fox was not simple. It might have a great connection with Tang Xiaoxi. Father has already summoned Feng Jixing, Chu Huaying, Zhen Yifan, and the others to deal with this matter. Hurry up and follow me to the palace. Qin Yin said. Yes. Lin Muyu quickly put on his cloak and grabbed the dragon spirit sword on the table. Let's go. Chapter 266. There hasn't been a demon in Lanyan City for hundreds of years. In the Zetian Palace, Zheng Yifan had a solemn expression as he said, Your Majesty, no matter where this nine-tailed demon fox came from, we can't just sit back and do nothing. Moreover, Princess Shi might have already been killed by this nine-tailed demon fox. This old subject suggests that we send the Flying Mount Battalion and the Divine Might Battalion into the dragon-seeking forest to hunt this nine-tailed demon fox. Feng Jixing was silent, his expression ugly. Chu Huayin said, Marquis, we still haven't figured out where this nine-tailed fox came from. Isn't it too much to say to kill it? What else do we need to figure out? Zheng Yifan sneered. Chu Huayin, do you still want to flirt with a demon like this nine-tailed fox? Enough! Lin Muyu shouted, not giving the divine marquis any face. She turned to Qin Jin and cupped her fists. Your Majesty, I took a look at the seal on the north gate of Lanyan City. I've seen it before. It's the Star Offering Seal, the fifth form of the Seven Seas Tang Sect's Fire Fox Seal. Qin Jin was stunned. You mean? Lin Muyu nodded. I'm afraid the only person in Lanyan City who can use the Fire Fox Seal at night is Xiaoxi. Last night, the Imperial Guard said that the seal was left behind by the nine-tailed fox. Then Xiaoxi, Qin Yin was shocked. Brother you, are you saying that the fox is Xiaoxi? It's just a guess, but it's very possible. Lin Muyu sighed. No matter what. Your Majesty, please give the order. I'm willing to go to Dragon Forest to find Xiaoxi. As for the others, there's no need. Anyone who dares to mention killing the nine-tailed fox will be my enemy, because that means killing Xiaoxi. Qin Jin couldn't help but frown. Are you really sure that this nine-tailed fox is Xiaoxi? How is that possible? Xiaoxi is Duke Lan's granddaughter. How could she be a monster? Zheng Yifan cupped his fists and said, Your Majesty, regardless of whether this nine-tailed demon fox is Princess Xi or not, the descent of the demon clan is bound to bring disaster and chaos. How can a princess compare to the fortunes and misfortunes of the world? As long as Your Majesty agrees, I am willing to personally lead the Divine Might Battalion into the dragon-seeking forest and capture this nine-tailed demon fox alive. Qin Jin raised his hand lightly and said, Your courage is commendable, but the dragon-seeking forest is steep and dangerous. Your Excellency is an important official of the Empire, so there's no need for you to take the risk yourself. It's better to leave this matter to the four heroes of Lanyan. Zheng Yifan was startled and looked a little confused. His Majesty doesn't trust me anymore. Of course not. Qin Jin smiled. Official Zhenqing doesn't need to be so suspicious. We're just worried about your health. There's no need to say anything else. Just leave this matter to Lin Muyu. He has the best personal relationship with Xiaoxi, so he'll definitely live up to everyone's expectations and bring Xiaoxi back safely. However what? Lin Muyu asked. Qin Jin said calmly, However, if this nine-tailed demon fox really is Xiaoxi and has already fallen into the path of demons, then I'll leave it to you to decide. I'll allow you to kill her on the spot. A chill ran down Lin Muyu's spine. Although it was already spring, he couldn't help but shudder. Feng Jixing looked at him with a pained expression. If there's really no other way, why don't I go instead? Lin Muyu shook his head. No, I'll go. Lin Muyu then raised his head to look at Qin Jin and said, Your Majesty, Lin Muyu will set off immediately. I won't be taking care of the matters of the Divine Temple and the Eagle Nest camp for the time being. Finding Tang Xiaoxi is the most important thing. Go. Yes. Lin Muyu turned around and left the Zetian Palace. He leaped onto his horse and galloped out of Lanyan City. In the Zetian Palace, everyone was still frowning. Qin Jin's expression was dark and uncertain. Finally, he slammed his fist on the armrest and said, The nine-tailed demon fox has reappeared in the world. Sai, what should we do? Qinin said. Father, what will happen if the nine-tailed demon fox reappears in the world? Qin Jin looked at his daughter and said, The last time the nine-tailed demon fox reappeared was more than 9,000 years ago. At that time, the Qin Empire had yet to be established. At that time, the empire was ruled by the four great empires. After the nine-tailed demon fox descended into the world, she transformed into a peerless beauty and married the Emperor of Chun. She seduced the wise emperor and conquered the entire continent in just 5 years. However, the population of the continent was reduced by more than half. In the end, the nine-tailed demon fox revealed her true form and killed the Emperor of Chun. She massacred 28 cities before flying away. She never returned, leaving behind only a nightmare. Chu Huayin gritted his teeth and said, Your Majesty, this is only a rumor. We don't know if it's true or not. Qinin also said, That's right, Father. If the nine-tailed demon fox last night was really Xiaoxi, then it means that she still has a conscience. Otherwise, the imperial guards guarding the city would have all been killed. Feng Jixing also cupped his fists and said, This general agrees with Her Highness Yin's words. This nine-tailed demon fox is definitely not the one from 9,000 years ago. At least she still has a conscience. No matter what, the world is the most important. Qin Jin took a deep breath and said, Minister Zhenqing, do what you think should be done. We will allow you to act on your own, but remember, if you meet Lin Muyu in the dragon-seeking forest, you must not hurt him. Otherwise, we will not let you off easily. Zheng Yifan cupped his fists and smiled. Rest assured, Your Majesty. This old subject will not let you down. Father. Qinin suddenly cried out. Father, how can you do this? That's Xiaoxi, it's Xiaoxi. Is the empire really that important in your heart that you can completely disregard Xiaoxi's life? Qin Jin frowned. Xiaoyin, you've grown up. You should know how to make choices. This is the pain of growing up. This is cold-bloodedness, not growth. Qin Yin's gaze turned cold. Father, since you've made up your mind, then Xiao Yin will take her leave. Wait, where are you going? Qin Jin asked loudly. However, Qin Yin turned around and left without saying a word. She retrieved her warhorse from outside the main hall and left Zetian Palace alone. Rebellious, really rebellious. Qin Jin gritted his teeth. Feng Jixing hurriedly cupped his fists and said, Your Majesty, this general is also going to the dragon-seeking forest? Yes, go. You must ensure Her Highness Yin's safety. Yes. Qin Jin's heart was in a mess. He turned to look at Chu Chu and said, Chu Chu, you're the princess's tutor. Quickly chase after them and ensure Xiao Yin's safety. Yes, this old man will go now. Zhen Yifan, Chu Chu, Feng Jixing and the rest left one after another. The entire Zetian Palace was dead silent. Qin Jin's face was filled with pain. After a long time he murmured, Qin Lei, temporarily take charge of the imperial army and ensure the safety of the imperial capital. Chu Huayin, lead the 5,000 Flying Mount Battalion and search for Tang Xiaoxi's whereabouts. Yes. Qin Lei said respectfully. Chu Huayin cupped his fists and raised his head to ask, Your Majesty, what should we do if we find Princess Xi? Qin Jin took a deep breath and said slowly, Don't hurt her. Chu Huayin's face lit up. Yes, this general will go. Thud, thud, thud. The intense sound of horse hooves galloping could be heard at the edge of the dragon-seeking forest. It was noon, and Lin Muyu had already galloped for hundreds of miles, but she still couldn't find Tang Xiaoxi. Along the way, there were a few burn marks on the ground, but they were intermittent and very soon, she lost all clues. Furthermore, she couldn't find Tang Xiaoxi's aura even after using the spirit pulse technique to search. Instead, the aura of spirit beasts appeared within the radius of the spirit pulse technique search. Lin Muyu's heart was in a mess. How could she still have the mood to think about spirit beasts? Tang Xiaoxi was only one person, and the longer she stayed in the dragon-seeking forest, the more dangerous it would be. Lulu, are you there? As they galloped, Lin Muyu called out to the female elf official. With a whoosh, Lulu's exquisite figure flew out of Yihai and sat on Lin Muyu's shoulder. She smiled and said, Brother, I don't know where Sister Tang Xiaoxi is either. But you're more familiar with the dragon-seeking forest than I am. Where do you think Xiaoxi would go? Lin Muyu asked. Brother, you're being too concerned. Lulu frowned and said, The dragon-seeking forest has a radius of thousands of miles, so how would Lulu know where Tang Xiaoxi would go? Moreover, you should be the one asking. You know Tang Xiaoxi better than Lulu, so you should know where she would go. Lin Muyu gritted her teeth. Xiaoxi, she might think that she can't go back to Lanyan City. Looking at her, she must be very sad and unwilling to see us again. Maybe she will go back to another home? Qihai City? Brother, if you think so, then let's go to Qihai City. Yes. Lin Muyu nodded. Then let's go to Qihai City. Lulu, draw a map for me. Okay. In his mind, the female elf officer quickly drew a large map of the dragon-seeking forest for him, marking the traces of the Seven Seas city in the distance. The Seven Seas Pass was a path that he had to pass through. Perhaps with the speed of the warhorse, he could enter the Seven Seas Pass before Tang Xiaoxi. When the time came, he would stand guard there. This was the highest possibility of meeting Tang Xiaoxi. However, Lin Muyu didn't know that since Tang Xiaoxi was unwilling to meet him, and Qin Yin in the form of a nine-tailed fox, why would Tang Xiaoxi be willing to meet Tang Lan and the Tang sect in this form? The afterglow of the setting sun shone on Qihai City, and night fell on this famous northern city again. Whoosh! A messenger bird flapped its wings and landed in the courtyard. Tang Bin, who was brewing tea, was slightly stunned and frowned. Where did this messenger bird come from? Men, bring it to me. Yes. A guard brought the messenger bird over. Tang Bin took out the letter and glanced at it. His face was full of shock. Young master, what's wrong? The guard asked. Tang Bin gritted his teeth. Xiaoxi has demonized. Demonized? What's demonized? Xiaoxi went berserk while cultivating the fire fox seal. She has already turned into a nine-tailed fox and descended into the world. Don't say anything else. Prepare the men and gather all the elites in my mansion. After reporting to grandfather, we will set off to the dragon-seeking forest to search for Xiaoxi's whereabouts. Yes. The guard cupped his fists and raised his head. His eyes flickered with a strange light as he said, Young master, Princess Xi is the biggest competitor for the inheritance of Seven Seas City. Young master, are you really going to rescue Princess Xi from the dragon forest? Xiaoxi is my younger sister. Of course, I have to save her. A chill flashed in Tang Bin's eyes. But the nine-tailed fox is not my younger sister. Chapter 267. 2 days and 2 nights later, although it was already spring, the Seven Seas Pass still seemed to be frozen in ice and snow. Moreover, the sky was still drifting with large snowflakes. Lin Muyu slowly rode her horse to the outskirts of the city, but she did not enter. She raised her pear blossom spear and silently guarded the barren forest, allowing the snow to fall on her body. Woo-woo! Beside the horse's hooves, the Acatosaurus whimpered, its body slightly curled up. It seemed to be complaining that this place was extremely cold, and asking Lin Muyu why she had to come to this kind of place to suffer. Lin Muyu was worried about Tang Xiaoxi. She dismounted and gently stroked the little dragon's head. Your big sister Xiaoxi is in danger. We have to protect her. The Acatosaurus seemed to understand. It slowly raised its head, then used its head to rub against Lin Muyu's arm and nestled in her embrace. The human and pet were together, keeping each other warm. Outside the Seven Seas Pass was the dragon-seeking forest. It was not safe, and very few merchants dared to pass through here during the day. Even if they dared to go on the main road, they would gather at least 100 people before setting off. Even the Tianchong Legion's patrols that went out of the city had at least 100 people. As night fell, Lin Muyu shivered as she started a bonfire in the sea of snow. The little dragon whimpered as it took up residence in the surroundings. This time, Lin Muyu had come out in a hurry and did not prepare anything. Thus, she had no tent or food. She could only melt some snow for drinking water. As for food, it was a wild rabbit that she had hunted in the mountains not long ago. The wild rabbit on the bonfire gave off a strong fragrance. Lin Muyu only had time to eat one leg before the rest was eaten by the Acatosaurus. This little fellow's appetite was too good. It ate more than half of the rabbit, but it was still complaining about being hungry. It was no wonder, as it usually ate at least 7 or 8 rabbits a day. Lin Muyu's gaze never left the Great Tao. At the same time, the spirit pulse technique was also maintained in a state of activation. Not a single aura in the surroundings could escape his senses. The pear blossom spear stabbed into the snow at the side. Hugging the dragon spirit sword, he slowly fell asleep. But not long after, he suddenly opened his eyes. In the southeast direction, a very strong aura was rapidly approaching. Xiaoxi! Xiaoxi! He opened his eyes and looked hopefully into the distance. However, he was disappointed. Not long after, a bloodthirsty tiger appeared in his field of vision. This was a bloodthirsty tiger that came out to hunt at the beginning of spring. There were 3 golden lines on its head. It was a 3,000-year-old spirit beast. In the past, it would have been a deadly existence, but now, this 3,000-year-old bloodthirsty tiger was not even worthy of Lin Muyu's attention. However, because of the spirit pulse technique, Lin Muyu's aura was restrained. Thus, in the eyes of the bloodthirsty tiger, Lin Muyu was nothing more than a delicious meal. Its paws lightly landed on the snow, and it walked step by step towards Lin Muyu. The bloodthirsty tiger's eyes were filled with a fierce light. It could not wait to enjoy this delicious meal. Lin Muyu let out a long sigh. He could not help but feel disappointed. He had thought that this aura belonged to Tang Xiaoxi. Thus, he gently stroked the little dragon's head. The feast is coming soon. Wait for it. The Acatosaurus raised its head and rubbed against his arm. It howled as if to say, "Then why aren't you going?" However, Lin Muyu could not be bothered to move. He was waiting for the bloodthirsty tiger to make the first move. Sure enough, after circling the area for 2 rounds, the bloodthirsty tiger suddenly pounced towards Lin Muyu with a furious roar. It swung its claws repeatedly, using the severing attack that it was famous for. However, this time, it was obviously unable to sever the claws. Lin Muyu raised his palm, and the golden gourd emerged from his body to form the wall of the gourd. Kill! The dragon spirit sword was quickly unsheathed. It contained the golden power of dawn and sliced through the air. Roar! Although the bloodthirsty tiger was roaring, its roar was clearly laced with fear. It hurriedly retreated a few steps and used the steel fur on its head to block the attack. The bloodthirsty tiger's fur was extremely tough, especially for a bloodthirsty tiger that had lived for thousands of years. Ordinary swords would not be able to cut through it. However, the current Lin Muyu was no longer the same as before. The moment the dragon spirit sword touched the bloodthirsty tiger's head, he already felt that it would not be able to cut through it in one blow. However, this did not affect him. The power of dawn on the blade transformed into a ray of sword chi and shot out. Light-splitting slash. The bloodthirsty tiger howled in pain and retreated. Its head and fur were undamaged, but brain matter splattered out and flowed down its chin. Under the might of the light-splitting slash, even a 3,000-year-old spiritual beast would not be able to escape the fate of being instantly killed. Go! With Lin Muyu's order, the Acatosaurus immediately pounced over and bit through the bloodthirsty tiger's throat. After confirming that it was dead, it began to enjoy its meal. It devoured the bloodthirsty tiger's beast soul and spiritual core. In the blink of an eye, it had devoured half of the 300-kilogram bloodthirsty tiger. Its appetite was truly frightening. After eating its fill, the Acatosaurus curled up beside Lin Muyu with its mouth full of blood. It suddenly opened its mouth and let out a burp, spitting out flames that melted the surrounding snow and created a warm, dry ground. Then it curled up head to tail and slept, snoring loudly. At the same time, 3 silver lines appeared on its forehead. After devouring the bloodthirsty tiger's origin soul, the little dragon had already evolved into an 800-year-old spiritual beast. The growth rate of the holy dragon tribe was truly astonishing. Lin Muyu did not disturb its sleep. After absorbing so much spiritual energy, the Acatosaurus needed a good sleep to digest it and make it its own. Even when dawn came, there was still no sign of Tang Xiaoxi. However, the Acatosaurus was already jumping around in the snow like a little puppy. Lin Muyu was not in the mood to enjoy its fun, and continued to guard the snow with a heavy heart. But at this moment, suddenly, the rumbling sound of iron chains came from the Seven Seas Pass, and the iron gate slowly opened. Have the patrols come out again? Lin Muyu thought to herself. However, it was not the patrols who came out, but a group of people in Seven Seas Province's military uniform. Moreover, there were quite a few of them, close to 2,000 people, all wearing the same armor and weapons. It seemed that the people of Seven Seas City had also received the news. Lin Muyu frowned, but found that the 2,000 people of Seven Seas City were actually coming straight for her. They were very fast, and it was already too late to get on a horse to dodge. There's someone there, surround him. When Lin Muyu stood up, she was already heavily surrounded. A group of Seven Seas City soldiers looked at her with swords drawn, as if they might attack at any time. Lightly patting the badge on her shoulder and the imperial military rank on her collar, Lin Muyu said lightly, "Are your dog eyes blind? Don't you recognize these?" A centurion respectfully cupped his fists and said, "General, we recognize the military rank, but the area outside the Seven Seas Pass is originally a restricted area. May I know why you are here alone? I'll go wherever I want. Besides, this is the territory of Northridge Province, not Seven Seas City. But you." Lin Muyu raised her sword-like eyebrows and shouted angrily. "The army of Seven Seas Province dares to trespass the imperial territory without the emperor's order. What crime do you deserve?" The centurion was stunned by the scolding and was speechless. At this time, the crowd of the army slowly separated, and a man wearing the armor of a senior officer rode over and said with a smile, "I was wondering who it was. It turns out to be the second of the 4 heroes of Lanyan, Lin Muyu. Tang Bin." Lin Muyu also recognized him and said, "Lin Muyu greets young Master Tang Bin." "No need to be so polite." Tang Bin looked at him deeply and said, "Lord Lin Muyu is now the general of the south and also the commander of the Eagle Nest camp. Why would you come to the Seven Seas Pass alone?" Lin Muyu narrowed his eyes. I'm afraid you have to ask young Master Tang Bin this question. Didn't you also bring a large group of people over? Tang Bin revealed a sorrowful expression and said, Yes, we have received Yu's letter early in the morning. It is unknown whether Xiaoxi is alive or dead. Grandfather is very worried about her safety, so he sent more than 2,000 warriors of the family personally led by me to the dragon-seeking forest to search for Xiaoxi's whereabouts. Lin Muyu Darren, the purpose of your trip is? Lin Muyu cupped her fists. I entered the dragon-seeking forest to search for Xiaoxi under His Majesty's imperial edict. So our purpose is the same. Tang Bin smiled slightly. Lord, entering the dragon-seeking forest alone, one fear that something bad will happen. How about you follow us to search for Xiaoxi? How about it? This, Lin Muyu smiled. I'm used to being alone, so it's better for me to be alone. Really? A trace of coldness flashed past Tang Bin's eyes as he said with a smile. Xiaoxi is grandfather's most doted junior. Her life and death is related to the fate of the entire Seven Seas city, so there must not be any mistakes in this matter. I think Lord Lin Muyu Darren should come with us. Otherwise, if anything happens, Tang Bin will not be able to explain to grandfather and His Majesty. Lord is a person who understands the circumstances. You should know what to do and what not to do, right? At the side, the old man who was called Elder Jing also smiled and said, Lord Lin Muyu, let's go together. Anyway, our purpose is the same. Around them, a group of Seven Seas city guards had already revealed their ferocious looks. Under Lin Muyu's spiritual pulse technique, the strength of these people was clear to her. Tang Bin's cultivation had improved a lot, and had already reached the peak of the first heaven of the heavenly state, while that Elder Jing was at the second heaven of the heavenly state. There were also a dozen or so people who were at the third heaven of the earth state, and many of them were not much weaker. If they really fought, Lin Muyu had almost no chance of winning. The people of Seven Seas City came in a menacing manner, and they looked like they came with ill intentions. Lin Muyu naturally knew her limits, so she nodded and said, Then let's go together to find Xiaoxi. With that, she mounted the horse and sheathed the dragon spirit sword with a clang. She raised her hand to grab the handle of the pear blossom spear, and pulled it out of the snow. Acatosaurus roared and followed closely behind. Tang Bin glanced at Acatosaurus, and a trace of astonishment flashed in his eyes, but he did not make any big movements. Although Lin Muyu was alone, it was not easy to kill him, and once he escaped, it would probably cause a big uproar when he returned to the imperial capital. Tang Bin also knew his limits. He would not make a move unless he was absolutely sure. Chapter 268. At the northern border of the dragon-seeking forest, everything was revived and the place was filled with lush greenery. Qin Yin, Feng Jixing and Chu Chu rode on their horses, followed by 2,000 imperial guards. Zhang Wei walked in front of the imperial guards with a steel saber in hand. He was the guard leader appointed by Feng Jixing for this trip. Your Highness, we've entered the depths of the dragon-seeking forest. Chu Chu frowned. There are spirit beasts that have lived for more than 5,000 years here. I'm worried that if we go deeper, the imperial guards might not be able to protect themselves even if we can protect ourselves. Feng Jixing nodded. Yes, we were attacked by a dragon snake when we entered the dragon-seeking forest. Of the thousands of imperial guards, a few hundred were killed. The attacks of large spirit beasts are not to be underestimated. Qin Yin's face was covered by a cloak. She sighed softly. Then let them wait here or return to Lanyan City on their own. We'll continue to look for Xiaoxi. Zhang Wei quickly cupped his fists. Your Highness, why are you looking down on us? As members of the Imperial Guards, we'd rather die in the dragon-seeking forest than be cowardly. Moreover, the more people we have, the greater the search area. The dragon-seeking forest is so huge that it's too difficult to find a single person. Naturally, the more the better. Qin Yin's voice was as soft as a mosquito's buzz. What does General Feng think? Feng Jixing's expression was calm. Pass down my order. Every 100 people in a group, bring along war drums and torches. Once we encounter a powerful spirit beast, light the torches immediately. Spirit beasts are usually afraid of fire. Also, The noise from the war drums can intimidate the spirit beasts. That's all. Don't stray too far away. Find Princess Shi as soon as possible. Yes. Zhang Wei nodded. Chu took out a map scroll and glanced at it. If we go any further, we'll reach the legendary Blood Marsh. The Blood Marsh is filled with poisonous gas. Should we take a detour? Blood Marsh. Qin Yin's gaze was serene. She said faintly, "Order the army to station outside. Elder Chu, follow me into the blood swamp to find out what's going on." Your Highness, are you really going to enter the Blood Marsh? Yes. Qin Yin turned to look at Chu and said, "I have the blood of the true dragon flowing in my veins, so the poisonous gas in the Blood Marsh can't do anything to me. Chu has a sanctuary realm body, so he shouldn't be afraid of some poisonous gas. There are so many of us, but Xiaoxi is alone. I don't know how she survived alone in the dragon-seeking forest. Chu, follow me in." This old one obeys. Chu nodded. Feng Jixing raised his wind cutter and ordered everyone to stay where they were. Blood Qi rose up in front of them, as if it was purgatory on earth. The water in the Blood Marsh was the color of blood, and it was boiling nonstop. Occasionally, some poisonous creatures like snakes and scorpions would scuttle past. It looked very frightening. Feng Jixing's cultivation was not bad, but he was still immortal in terms of resistance to poison, so he couldn't act rashly. Qin Yin got off the horse and stepped into the Blood Marsh step by step. 3 golden god-binding chains circled around her, protecting her from the invasion of any poisonous gas. Chu also circulated his sanctuary realm battle energy, forming a protective wall around him to block the invasion of the poisonous gas. Looking at Qin Yin's figure in front of him, he couldn't help but sigh. It was said that the Qin clan's bloodline was inherited from the true dragon. It seemed that this was true. Ordinary people would die within half a minute after entering the Blood Marsh, but Qin Yin was safe and sound as she walked in the Blood Marsh. Jie. In the darkness, a dark red lizard was sticking out its red tongue as it followed Qin Yin from a distance. There were 5 golden patterns on its head, and it was clearly a 5,000-year-old spirit beast. A few smaller lizards followed behind it, and they were all at least 3,000-year-old spirit beasts. The group of lizards glared at the people who had entered the blood swamp, and they looked like they were ready to attack at any time. "Be careful, Your Highness," Chu reminded. Qin Yin smiled faintly and said, "And it's fine." She walked on the dry, blood-colored ground. Suddenly her Douqi rose. With every step she took, the pale golden god-binding chains turned into ripples that spread out in all directions, carrying with it the faint sound of a divine oracle. A wave of true Dragon King's energy was contained within. Suddenly, those lizards in the distance screeched and retreated one after another. It was as if they had seen a true dragon. They shrunk back into the cave, not daring to look up again. Chu clicked his tongue in wonder and looked around, saying, "Your Highness, it seems like no one has been here for the time being. Let's go. Staying here will only be a waste of time." Qin Yin's beautiful eyes looked around, and indeed, there was no trace of Tang Xiaoxi's aura. She reached out to cover her face with her cloak and nodded, saying, "And let's go." After exiting the Blood Marsh, Feng Jixing hurriedly raised his blade and walked forward, asking with concern, "Your Highness, are you all right?" Qin Yin smiled faintly. "I'm fine, let's continue." "But Your Highness, it's already night. Why don't we set up camp and rest, then continue the search tomorrow morning?" "No." Qin Yin's gaze was unusually firm. "General Feng, the longer we wait, the longer Xiaoxi will be in danger. I feel a little uneasy. Xiaoxi's current situation is definitely not better than ours." "Yes, Your Highness." Chu flipped over and mounted his horse, catching up to Qin Yin's war horse, saying, "Your Highness, actually, I have something to say, but I'm not sure if I should say it." Chu, go ahead." Qin Yin's voice was calm. Chu nodded, cupped his fists and said, "Your Highness, according to Yu's speculation and various signs, that 9-tailed fox demon is very likely to be Princess Shi. And as far as I know, the 9-tailed fox demon is very powerful. If Xiaoxi has really transformed into a 9-tailed fox, then her current strength should not be inferior to mine. Let me ask, in the entire world, how many people can still hurt Xiaoxi?" Qin Yin's eyes flickered, and she turned to look at Chu Chu saying, Chu, can Jun Yifan do it? Chu Chu was stunned, and he remained silent. Feng Jixing took a deep breath and said, all troops listen up, continue advancing. In the blink of an eye, another 2 days passed, and this was already the 4th day since Tang Xiaoxi left Lanyan City. To the northwest of the dragon-seeking forest, a majestic group of people passed through the forest, but many soldiers were lying on the backs of their horses, wailing incessantly, and blood seeped through their clothes. This was already the 7th time the army of Qihai City had encountered a spirit beast in the dragon-seeking forest, and this time, it was an 8,200-year-old sword-horn beast. After a fierce battle, the army of Qihai City lost more than 100 people, and even Elder Jing was slightly injured. Although his cultivation was not bad, he did not have the wall of a bottle gourd to protect himself like Lin Muyu. Although he could kill the spirit beast, he could not escape unscathed. From the beginning to the end, Lin Muyu maintained a wait-and-see attitude, and did not have the slightest intention of making a move, because he saw vigilance and hostility in the eyes of Tang Bin and the others. Perhaps in the eyes of many people he, the adopted son of the emperor, was just a dog kept by the emperor. A guard rode forward and said respectfully, Young master, Yingzhao Mountain is just ahead. Yingzhao Mountain? Yes, Yingzhao Mountain got its name because of its resemblance to an ancient beast called Yingzhao. But according to the records in the Dragon-Seeking Journal, Yingzhao Mountain is a dangerous place. Thousands of years ago, the footprints of a 10,000-year-old sacred beast were found in Yingzhao Mountain. No one has been to Yingzhao Mountain in the last 100 years. Should we go around and not enter Yingzhao Mountain? No. Tang Bin shook his head and said, even if there is a 10,000-year-old sacred beast, we still have to enter Yingzhao Mountain. We do not know where Shaoxi is now, and we cannot let go of any possible place. Tonight, we will set up camp in Yingzhao Mountain. We will leave early tomorrow morning and continue advancing eastward. Yes. Tang Bin then said, prepare food and wine. It is chilly in the spring, and we will hold a banquet in the camp tonight. We will entertain Lady Lin Muyu. Yes, I will prepare it right away. Lin Muyu smiled coldly at the side and said, Young master, you are too kind. There is no need for a banquet. I am used to starving outside, and I am already very grateful for the food you have provided me for the past 2 days. What are you saying, lady? You would rather enter the dragon-seeking forest alone to find Shaoxi. This is what I should do as a brother. Then I will not hold back. Heh, that is right. Further ahead, a lone peak stood between heaven and earth. It looked like a warhorse, except that there were 2 cliffs on its back, which looked like wings. This was the origin of Yingzhao Mountain. However, unlike what was described in Seeking the Dragon, there were no 10,000-year-old sacred beasts in Yingzhao Mountain. It was just a pack of wolves that were 1,000 to 2,000 years old. And they were quickly dispersed by the soldiers' torches and the clamor. They set up camp and rested. The central tent was occupied by Tang Bin, and the banquet was set up for the banquet. There were 3 tables of wine, which were used to entertain the generals who had worked hard on the journey. Lin Muyu was one of them. Tang Bin and Elder Jing were very enthusiastic in their hospitality. After drinking a lot of wine, Lin Muyu's face was already slightly red. She leaned against the side of the table, the knee pads of the holy temple armor against the legs of the table to maintain her balance. She was very drunk. General Lin? Elder Jing asked tentatively. Tang Bin also smiled and said, Lady Lin Muyu, have you drunk too much? Lin Muyu did not say anything, but she extended her spiritual pulse technique, focusing her spiritual senses between Tang Bin and Elder Jing, and even began to infiltrate their thoughts. Not long after, she heard a voice from the bottom of Tang Bin's heart, as if she was hallucinating. Could it be that this boy really has drunk too much? Humph, he's so drunk that he's like mud. It's only a matter of a single slash. Moreover, he has a close relationship with little Shi. I'll first kill this brat, then after I find little Shi, I'll secretly kill her. Presumably, when I return, grandfather won't be able to blame me. Very good, but the problem is, where is little Shi? The 9-tailed demon fox, hee. What the hell is that? Our Tang family does not have such a monster. Lin Muyu felt a chill in her heart when she heard this. It seemed that her spiritual pulse technique had gradually gained the ability to read minds. For scum like Tang Bin, who was not mentally strong and had an incomplete soul, it was easy to read his mind. But that elder Jing was different. He had a strong will, and it was almost impossible to read anything. But that was enough. Tang Bin wanted to kill Tang Xiaoxi, and that was an indisputable fact. It was time to escape. If they did not leave now, they would definitely die in Yingzhou Mountain tonight. At this moment, Lin Muyu suddenly opened her eyes. Her eyes were drowsy and swaying, and she smiled as she took out the dragon talisman from her bosom. Laughing loudly, she said, "Do you recognize this item?" Tang Bin and the others saw it, and many of the generals were so scared that they knelt on the ground. Dragon talisman. It is the dragon talisman. Seeing the dragon talisman was like seeing the emperor. Lin Muyu quickly stuffed the dragon talisman into her bosom and said with a smile, "It is good that you recognize it. Now I am going to relieve myself. Aha, generals, please continue drinking. There is no need to wait for me." She left the tent in a drunken state. The cold wind blew, and she was immediately refreshed. She went straight to the west side of the camp. But Elder Jing's cold voice came from behind her. "General Lin, where do you think you are going? Men, catch him." How could Lin Muyu possibly turn around? She dove into the bushes and activated the falling star steps. Her entire body seemed to have transformed into a sharp ray of light as she fell into the distance. In an instant, the camp was thrown into chaos. One by one, the soldiers of Seven Seas City mounted their horses, but how could the horses catch up to Lin Muyu in the forest? In the cold wind, a figure could be seen flying over. It was Jing Lao. This elder Jing was Tang Bin's man, not Tang Lan or Tang Xiaoxi. Lin Muyu suddenly made up her mind. Kill. Chapter 269. Xiao. A chilling palm blade came from behind. This was Jing Lao's attack. This person cultivated the law of ice, and even his words were cold. He didn't use any weapons. Since he cultivated the profound ice technique, he could kill his opponent with his bare hands. Lin Muyu suddenly dodged to the side. She only saw a strand of frosty battle energy flying past her nose. Bang! It landed on a rock at the side and created a hole. Frost quickly condensed on the rock. This Jing Lao's cultivation was indeed not to be underestimated. Dang! Lin Muyu pulled out the dragon spirit sword. With a shake of her wrist, she slashed out a sword energy. She continued to run forward while Jing Lao was blocking the attack with his palms. This place was still very close to the camp. She had to lure Jing Lao to a farther place to finish him off. Otherwise, it would bring him unnecessary trouble. "Are you afraid?" Jing Lao laughed wildly. His battle energy enshrouded his entire body. A black berserk beast martial soul appeared on his shoulders. He chased after Lin Muyu and laughed heartily. "What a good foster son of the emperor. You are just a dog. From now on, the emperor will no longer have a foster son." Lin Muyu stopped abruptly, turned around and swung his sword again. However, he only used 70% of his strength, forcing Elder Jing to take a few steps back. However, he himself also took 7 to 8 steps back, which made him look like he was powerless. One must have good acting skills in order to survive. Lin Muyu lightly bumped into a pine tree and his body bounced back a little. With an expression of unwillingness on his face, he said, If you kill me here, someone will definitely find out. At that time, Imperial Father will definitely destroy the entire Seven Seas City to avenge me." "Ha ha ha, ridiculous." Jing Lao's face was full of contempt. He slapped again and shouted angrily, "Who do you think you are? You want to make the Emperor angry at the Seven Seas City? Dream on." However, Elder Jing felt a chill in his heart. He knew that he had to kill Lin Muyu today. Otherwise, if the matter was exposed, whether it was the Emperor or Tanglan, he wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. Elder Jing's palm strike was faster than the previous one, causing the battle aura armor around Lin Muyu's body to dissipate over and over again. Even the corner of Lin Muyu's mouth was bleeding. But he kept running and retreating. In the blink of an eye, he had run for nearly 5 miles, far away from the camp of Seven Seas City. Even Yingzhou Mountain was just a shadowy hill under the moonlight. At that moment, Lin Muyu suddenly turned around. Her entire temperament seemed to have changed in an instant. Her fighting chi was suddenly raised to the peak. She waved her palm gently, and the golden gourd martial spirit came out of her body. She added the shell of the tortoise and the dragon scale wall one after the other, and she slapped at Elder Jing's palm. Bang! Lin Muyu did not seem to be at a disadvantage in this attack. Elder Jing's palm landed on the wall of the gourd, causing sparks to fly. However, the recoil from the wall of the gourd made Elder Jing's arms numb. He could not help but feel a chill in his heart. Could it be that this brat had been pretending to be weak all along? Show me what you've got, or you'll die very quickly. Lin Muyu smiled. The dragon spirit sword in her hand made a joyful sound, and at the same time, the 7 planets Xian energy in her arm poured into the sword. Jing Lao trembled, and his whole face seemed to be twisted. He said, "You bastard." After saying that, Jing Lao's face became even more twisted. Sharp horns extended out from his shoulders, piercing through his body and dripping with blood. A horn also appeared on his head. His douqi surged and his muscles swelled. At this moment, Jing Lao didn't look like a human at all. Instead, he looked like an evil spirit. "What's that?" Lin Muyu said lightly. Jing Lao had a mocking look on his face. "You don't even understand the beast martial souls combination realm. I've followed Master Lan to battle all over the world, and I've made many achievements. Who on this continent doesn't know my name? You ignorant person, go to hell." Jing Lao suddenly attacked with his palm, and the image of a fierce tiger appeared in his palm. He roared. Fierce tiger descends the mountain. Fighting chi surged. This was not a simple attack. It was obvious that Jing Lao had used the combination realm and martial soul to greatly increase his cultivation. The power of this attack was no less than the 3rd heaven of the heaven realm. Lin Muyu secretly circulated her strength, and the 7 planets Xian energy crazily poured into the long sword. She suddenly grabbed the sword hilt with both hands, and attacked with the shocking thunder wild wave. Chaos of the common people. Bang! Fire and frost rushed into the sky, and the surroundings were as bright as day. Jing Lao's face looked even more ferocious under the strong light. Pfft! Lin Muyu spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated a few steps. Her strength was inferior after all. However, Jing Lao was not much better. His arms were a little numb, and the chaos of the common people's Xian energy was very overbearing. Even if it couldn't hurt him, it wouldn't make him feel good. "Good lad, you're really something." Jing Lao grinned ferociously and opened his palms. Streaks of frost lingered on his arms as if they had a mind of their own. He laughed confidently and said, "You forced me to combine realm and beast, and now this is your fate. Prepare to die." Lin Muyu wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and couldn't help but smile. He held the long sword with both hands again, and the golden gourd martial soul lingered around him. The wind danced wildly, and his cloak fluttered. He looked like a god descending to the mortal world, mighty and awe-inspiring. This time, he skipped the 2nd and 3rd luminaries. His soul power had greatly increased with his cultivation, and he could control the power of the 4th luminaries. The true dragon essence fire flowed from his arms into the long sword, and at the same time, the cry of the 4 luminaries demon and god appeared on the sword. Jing Lao roused his douqi, and suddenly put his palms together. His body speed increased, and he rushed over shouting, "Die!" Cold ice descends. Lin Muyu didn't say a word, and brazenly slashed with his sword. True dragon essence fire, cry of the 4 luminaries demon and god. The space seemed to have been distorted by the 7 planets Xian energy, and this small space had completely become Lin Muyu's territory under the force field of the cry of the 4 luminaries demon and god. Naturally, the power of this move had greatly increased. Boom! Ice and fire collided, and the momentum was monstrous. The soaring flame wave and the frost collided, and the impact caused the surrounding forest to collapse, and the gravel on the ground rolled in all directions. Ugh! Jing Lao let out a miserable howl. His opponent's Xian energy was endless, and even after exhausting the cold ice descends, he still had the strength to counterattack. Jing Lao's arms were bleeding, and he was injured. Be*****. How could you possibly defeat me? Jinglao roared, and like a ferocious beast, he suddenly covered the ground with his palms. Suddenly, the ground started to tremble, and the frost elements in the surrounding quickly rushed into Jinglao's body. Was he going to borrow the power of the earth's frost? Lin Muyu was slightly stunned, but he naturally had a way to deal with it. He raised his hand and sheathed his sword, and suddenly placed his left arm in front of his chest. This arm, which was remolded by the divine power of the profound spirit ruler, not only contained Xian energy, but also the vast true dragon power. Under the urging of Lin Muyu's power, his entire arm was surrounded by flames, and a golden true dragon was circling around it. At the same time, he suddenly concentrated the three luminaries' calamities Xian energy, and suddenly, the power of all living beings in the world seemed to be surging toward Lin Muyu. Whether it was the spiritual beasts, trees, or strange stones with spiritual power, every bit of power could be used by him. This power of borrowing the power of nature was far from what Elder Jing could compare to. Jinglao raised his head, and when he saw Lin Muyu standing in the same place with the dragon power circling around his left arm, his whole body trembled. He lowered his head, and tears suddenly flowed out of his eyes. Master Lan, I Sima Jing, can no longer follow you to conquer the world. I wish you a peaceful life without worries. Roar. Elder Jing suddenly rushed over, and there was an inhuman roar coming from his mouth. He opened his palm, and endless coldness surged out of his palm. This was the killing intent of his move. Lin Muyu looked up, and suddenly exerted force under his feet. His left arm was also blasted out with the vast Xian energy of flames. Bam! The earth-shaking and mountain-shaking attacks collided with each other. Even the point where the two collided quickly spun, and condensed into a barrier of fire and ice. Shwa shwa. It rapidly spun. In the next moment, Elder Jing let out a miserable howl. The veins in his arms burst open, and blood splashed everywhere. It was a tragic sight to behold. Both of his arms had been crippled in an instant. I'll grant you a quick death. Lin Muyu still had some strength left. She leaped forward with her sword, and the sword light directly slashed at Elder Jing's neck. Elder Jing's eyes widened, and he roared, I have battle armor to protect me. You want to kill me with this scrap of metal? The young master will be here soon. Just wait for your death, Lin Muyu. However, Lin Muyu didn't say a word, and her sword began to fall quickly. With a bang, the dragon spirit sword was unable to break the battle armor, and was directly blocked by the chi armor. But with a flash of light, the light-splitting slash penetrated the battle armor, and fell directly on Elder Jing's neck. The light-splitting slash passed through the battle armor, and a huge rock behind him was forcibly cut in half. Ga. Elder Jing let out a beast-like howl, and the next moment blood splattered, and his entire head turned over and fell from his neck. Lin Muyu watched indifferently as Elder Jing fell. She quickly walked forward, and reached for a small spatial bag at Elder Jing's waist. She didn't even have time to check what was inside. She stuffed the bag into her clothes, sheathed her sword, and leaped more than 10 meters away, disappearing in the cold forest in the blink of an eye. The night wind was cold, and only Elder Jing's corpse was left lying there. It quickly turned cold, and even the blood that had spilled on the rock quickly froze. Winner takes all, and loser takes all. This was the law of this world. Elder Jing and Lin Muyu both knew that since they had already laid their cards on the table, one of them had to die. Although Lin Muyu was kind, he wasn't a coward. If anyone wanted to kill him, he wouldn't hesitate to kill them first. As the young master of the Long Xian group, he wasn't a good person. Once he became ruthless, any of his opponents would probably tremble in fear. Otherwise, Lin Muyu wouldn't have been able to sit on the throne of the martial god. In the cold night, they sped through the forest with falling star steps. Awoo! The little dragon's cry came from the other space, and it seemed to be acting coquettishly. Lin Muyu didn't pay attention to it. Instead of the joy of defeating Elder Jing, he was more worried about Tang Xiaoxi's whereabouts. Under the moonlight, he seemed to be all alone. Chapter 270. Amidst the sound of hooves, Tang Bin arrived with a group of heavy cavalry from Seven Seas City. only to see that a large piece of empty land in the fertile land had been turned into a battlefield. All the withered trees had been uprooted by the wind, and there were even 3 large pits in the ground. Every collision between 2 experts would leave a deep pit. Beneath a huge rock, Sima Jing's cold corpse lay there, with his head separated from his body. Tang Bin's body trembled, and he got off his horse. Under the illumination of the torch, he looked at Sima Jing's corpse with a livid expression. His eyes were bloodshot as he said, "Who did this?" A young clansman said with a cold expression, "Apart from Lin Muyu, who else has the ability to kill Elder Jing here?" Moreover, Elder Jing's head was chopped off with a single slash, and the cut was very smooth. Lin Muyu is skilled with the sword, so who else could it be? Another clansman gritted his teeth and said, "Lin Muyu is a bastard. Our 7 Seas city treated him so well, but he actually repaid our kindness with enmity and killed Elder Jing. Bastard." Tang Bin's body trembled slightly, and he was completely dispirited. After losing Sima Jing, it was as if he had lost an arm. He knew Sima Jing's strength very well. Sima Jing was at the peak of the 2nd heaven of the heaven state, but once he shapeshifted, his strength would at least be at the 3rd heaven of the heaven state. There was no need to mention the dangers in the dragon-seeking forest. Whether they could kill the 9-tailed fox demon after losing Sima Jing was a problem. After a while he said calmly, "Bury Elder Jing on the spot." "But young master," one of the attendants said, "Elder Jing has followed Duke Lan for decades, and his military exploits are outstanding. Today he died here. Can we bring Elder Jing's body back to 7 Seas City for burial? That is his hometown." "No." Tang Bin's gaze turned cold, and he said, "Our mission this time is to find Xiaoxi. Although Elder Jing has made great contributions to 7 Seas City, is he more important than Xiaoxi? Moreover, Elder Jing is a soldier, and dying in battle is a kind of final destination. Bury him, and then continue searching for Xiaoxi's whereabouts." "Yes, young master." At dawn, Lin Muyu, who had been running for her life, had exhausted a lot of her energy. She suddenly threw a punch through the air. The 4-dimensional energy surged and forcefully tore open a spatial crack 14 meters away. The Acatosaurus cub quickly crawled out of the spatial crack while howling. It knew that its master could only maintain the spatial crack for 10 seconds at most. It did not want to be trapped by the disappearing spatial crack. "Howl!" The little dragon ran to Lin Muyu's leg, rubbed against its owner's leg, and rolled on the ground happily. Lin Muyu could not help but smile, and a warm feeling welled up in her heart. She thought about how Tang Xiaoxi loved this Acatosaurus in the hunting ground, but now, she was nowhere to be found, and people even called her a monster. Lin Muyu felt very sad. She hugged the Acatosaurus and sat under the tree, her body trembling slightly. After a long time, the weakened state of the falling star step disappeared. Lin Muyu immediately stood up and picked up some dry firewood to start a bonfire. At the same time, she used the magic noise blade to kill a rabbit, skinned it, and roasted it on a tree branch. While roasting the rabbit, she took out the dimensional bag that she snatched from Elder Jing. The storage space of this dimensional bag was not big, at least, it was far less than the Qianquan bag. The things that Elder Jing collected were also very strange. They were all gold coins, diamond coins, and other valuables. In addition, there were several land deeds and contracts of slavery in 7 Seas City. After taking a closer look, there were a total of 7 land deeds, which also indicated Elder Jing's wealth and status in 7 Seas City. There were 7 mansions in the 3rd ring of the 7 Seas Province's provincial capital city, and 4 contracts of slavery. They were women aged 16, 18, 20, and 22. TSK. Although this old guy was not young, his degree of extravagance and debauchery was no less than those young nobles in the imperial capital. Lin Muyu remained silent, and threw the 4 contracts of slavery into the bonfire. Once Elder Jing died, these 4 girls would regain their freedom. As long as there were no contracts of slavery, they would not need to be slaves. As for the 7 land deeds, they would all be transferred into her Qianquan bag. Perhaps one day, when she really fell into dire straits, she would at least have 7 properties in 7 Seas City. Moreover, even if in the future, in the event that she married Tang Xiaoxi, it would be considered a dowry. Thinking of this, he could not help but feel distressed. Marrying Tang Xiaoxi, this sentence seemed so ridiculous now. Tang Xiaoxi was a nine-tailed demon fox, that was despised and feared by the world. How could he marry her? Lin Muyu curled up in the cold wind and roasted rabbit meat. No matter how strong a person's strength was, after the eruption, what was left was only weakness. However, when he thought about it again, perhaps the people of this world couldn't tolerate the nine-tailed fox, but there wasn't anything he couldn't accept. The nine-tailed fox was destined to be a heavenly beauty. Moreover, little she was such a good person, so what was wrong with marrying a nine-tailed fox? However, the premise of all this was that Qin Yin could tolerate her. Lin Muyu was well aware of Qin Yin's feelings for him. At the same time, he also understood that Qin Yin was the one he truly loved. It was just that there was a great disparity in their statuses. After thinking about it, he slapped his forehead. What was the point of thinking so much? Perhaps in the end, neither of these two girls would be his. The little dragon was impatiently waiting for the rabbit meat to be roasted. It even winked at its master, indicating that it could accept rabbit meat with blood on it. However, Lin Muyu did not have the slightest intention of paying attention to it, because he could not accept rabbit meat with blood on it. If the conditions allowed it, it would affect digestion and be bad for the stomach. After the meat was roasted, this time, in order to maintain her strength, Lin Muyu ate half of the rabbit. She only gave the other half to the little dragon, and then let it hunt around by itself. The little dragon did not disappoint her. Not long after, it bit a wild boar to death and dragged it back. This wild boar weighed at least 200 catties, much heavier than the little dragon. It was rare that the little dragon could drag it. Moreover, the little dragon placed the wild boar carcass in front of Lin Muyu and began to talk, with its claws and fangs. Although Lin Muyu could not understand what it was saying, she could understand its intention. The little fellow was inviting her to have a meal together. No need, you can eat. Lin Muyu smiled and patted the little fellow's head. She took out a map of the dragon-seeking forest and studied it carefully. Where would Tang Xiaoxi go? After looking at the map again and again, Lin Muyu's heart suddenly lit up. In the depths of the southern jungle of the dragon-seeking forest, there was a dragon's tomb. This was the place that Lin Muyu, Tang Xiaoxi, and Qin Yin had been to together. It was also the place that Chu Chu was guarding. Would Tang Xiaoxi go there? At the thought of this, Lin Muyu could not help but cheer in her heart. Yes, Xiaoxi must be in the dragon's tomb. She knows. If Xiao Yin and I want to find her, we will definitely go to the dragon's tomb. I'm really too stupid. I actually did not think that Xiaoxi would be in the dragon's tomb. Sigh, she is in the dragon's tomb. When he looked up, he saw that most of the wild boar had already been eaten by the little dragon. He immediately patted the little dragon's head and said, "Eat quickly, we have to continue our journey after eating." After the little dragon finished eating, it was thrown into the alternate dimension. Lin Muyu immediately activated the fallen star steps and traversed the depths of the dragon-seeking forest. After losing her warhorse, she could only rely on the fallen star steps to travel. Moreover, if she could guess that Tang Xiaoxi would go to the dragon's tomb, others might be able to guess as well. After all, many people knew about that trip to the dragon-seeking forest. However, Lin Muyu did not know that this time, there was more than one group of people who wanted to kill Tang Xiaoxi. Dragon-seeking forest, southern jungle. A group of about 500 people rode slowly through the jungle. At the front of the group was an old man dressed in light armor. He wore a cloak embroidered with a python, and on his chest was a shiny golden purple flower empire emblem. A group of people behind him also wore the emblems of the empire soldiers. A large flag that fluttered in the wind had the word Zeng engraved on it. They were the troops of the Divine Marquis Constabulary. In the crowd, Captain Sikong Nen carried his long sword and quickly moved forward. He said, "Marquis, the messenger bird reported that the territory of a 7,200 years old bramble wolf is in front of us. Should we go around it?" Zheng Yifan shook his head and said, "No, this old man will go and kill it in a moment." "Yes." Sikongnen held his saber and bowed respectfully. He asked cautiously, "Marquis, if we find Tang Xiaoxi, what should we do?" Please tell us, Marquis. Otherwise, we won't know what to do. That depends on what kind of Tang Xiaoxi it is. Zheng Yifan squinted his eyes and smiled. What do you mean? Sikong Nan was a boorish man and naturally did not understand the mystery. Zheng Yifan smiled faintly and said, if it's Tang Xiaoxi in her normal form, we'll bring her back to Lanyan City and take good care of her. If it's Tang Xiaoxi in the form of the nine-tailed demon fox, we'll kill her on the spot and leave the Imperial Army's insignia behind. This, Sikong Nan was confused. What do you mean? Why don't we take this opportunity to kill Tang Xiaoxi? She is Her Highness Qin Yin's best friend. If Tang Xiaoxi is alive, it is destined to be a contract between the imperial capital and the Seven Seas City. Zheng Yifan said lightly. You only know one thing, not the other. If the Divine Marquis residence kills Tang Xiaoxi, then we will offend Tang Lan. What good will that do us? So if Tang Xiaoxi is normal, we will bring her back and Tang Lan will naturally be grateful to the Divine Marquis residence. But if Tang Xiaoxi is still a nine-tailed fox demon, then we will kill her and leave the Imperial Army emblem on her, so that the Seven Seas City will know that it was Feng Jixing who killed Tang Xiaoxi. This way, the contract between the Lanyan City and the Seven Seas City will fall apart on its own. Isn't this the result we want? Sikong Nan suddenly understood. He cupped his fists and said, the Marquis residence is truly a man of God. Zheng Yifan's eyes dimmed as he said, this is just wishful thinking on our part. Heaven knows what is going on now. Perhaps Tang Xiaoxi was killed by the spiritual beasts in the dragon-seeking forest. Or perhaps she could not withstand the power of the nine-tailed fox demon and self-destructed. For now, we can only take one step at a time. Anyway, remember, do not act rashly at any time. Also, do not clash with Her Highness Yin's army. Now is not the time. Yes, Marquis residence. Chapter 271. After devouring the beast spirit of a 3,400-year-old wolf, a golden line appeared on the little dragon's head for the first time. It had finally stepped into the ranks of the 1,000-year spiritual beasts. Awoo! The cry was still the same. The holy dragon who took the path of acting cute was really unbearable. Lin Muyu looked at the satisfied Acatosaurus on the ground and couldn't help but ask with a smile, Little Apple, your strength has once again made a qualitative leap. Show me, what is your ability now? Acatosaurus turned over and got up from the ground. Oh! It stomped its front feet on the ground, and its momentum seemed to have changed. The scales on its back stood up one by one, and actually formed a dragon armor blade. The next moment, the little dragon suddenly curled up its body, opened its mouth, and bit its tail, forming a circle on the ground and rolling on the ground. The dragon armor blade could be seen crushing the grass, trees, and even rocks into pieces. This was really too terrifying. Lin Muyu was shocked. Invincible? Invincible firestorm wheels? The little dragon stopped and happily nodded its head, as if it very much recognized this name. This was the second evolution of Acatosaurus. The first evolution gave it the ability Phantom Claw, and the second evolution gave it the invincible firestorm wheels. Moreover, it could be foreseen that once Acatosaurus reached adulthood and used the invincible firestorm wheels with its huge body, it would be simply a purgatory. Awoo! Acatosaurus, who had just entered the second evolution, seemed to be very tired. It needed to rest. Lin Muyu was a considerate master, and immediately waved her fist to split open a space crack, letting the little dragon in to sleep and grow. After eating the last piece of meat in her hand, Lin Muyu stood up, and her whole body was filled with combat energy again. She could run all the way again. Although the Fallen Star Steps was fast and could run for about 500 miles in one go, it consumed too much of her physical strength. However, she had no choice. After all, the dragon tomb was too far away. Even at full speed, it would take 3 to 4 days to get there. She didn't know how Tang Xiaoxi was doing now. She hoped that she wouldn't meet a human. After all, in the form of a nine-tailed demon fox, no matter how beautiful she was, she would probably scare away a lot of people. After running for more than 500 miles, the sky darkened again, and it was night again. Lin Muyu slowly slowed down. She needed to rest for a while. Her physical strength and combat energy were about to be exhausted, and her legs felt like they were filled with lead. She couldn't run anymore. However, just when she stopped, she suddenly heard the sound of hooves from afar. After a few seconds, a group of people appeared in her field of vision. It was a group of wandering mercenaries, and there were about 50 of them. Although they were dressed like mercenaries, their armor was brand new, and their weapons were excellent. The horses they were riding on were also very sturdy. They didn't look like mercenaries at all. Not good. Lin Muyu didn't have time to dodge, and she was already in the sight of the mercenaries. The most frightening thing was that she couldn't move her legs anymore. The terrifying state of the fallen star steps had come, and her entire body's combat energy and physical strength had entered a state of exhaustion. She needed at least half an hour to recover. There's someone there. A group of mercenaries suddenly pointed their weapons at Lin Muyu and shouted, "Catch him!" They had horses, so they definitely couldn't run away. Lin Muyu stopped running. She held the dragon spirit sword in her hand, and smiled as she looked at the group of people rushing up the hill and surrounding her. Her eyes were filled with confidence and arrogance as she said, "What do you want?" The mercenary in the lead was a man with a long beard. He was very sturdy, and he held a heavy battle axe in his hand. Moreover, this axe had a faint hint of soul refining in it. It was a mysterious rank axe, and although this man tried his best to hide his cultivation, Lin Muyu could still sense the surging combat energy in his body with the spirit pulse technique. The other dozens of mercenaries were also not ordinary people. Most of them were people with Earth Realm cultivation. This group of people was definitely not as simple as wandering mercenaries. Lin Muyu felt a chill from the bottom of her heart. She secretly lamented that her luck was too bad. The mercenary in the lead lowered his axe and came to Lin Muyu's side. He spurred his horse around and smiled. "This armor is not bad. If I'm not wrong, this is the attire of the Holy Temple in the capital. I wonder, who are you in the Holy Temple? You actually have a golden badge and the rank of Chiliarch." They came with ill intentions. Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said in an imposing manner that did not lose to her opponent, "I'm Ma Lin, a gold star instructor of the Holy Temple. I entered the dragon-seeking forest to cultivate by myself this time. Who are you?" The man laughed and lifted the battle axe on his shoulder. He said, "I'm Li Jingxi, the leader of the Violet Mercenary Group in Lanyan City. Lord Holy Temple, since we've met here, why don't we have a drink or two? Since it's getting cold, why don't you set up camp with us?" Lin Muyu's gaze was indifferent. "You want to rob someone from the Holy Temple? No, we don't have the guts." Li Jingxi laughed and said, "You're too cautious, Lord. We, the Violet Mercenary Group, are all heroes who fight for justice. Someone, give this lord a horse and help him carry a weapon." "Yes." A mercenary led a skinny horse over and stretched out his hand. "Lord, may I help you carry a weapon?" Lin Muyu scanned the group of people with clear eyes. She noticed that many of them were injured. There was even a person at the back with a broken arm. Even the strongest person in the group, Li Jingxi, was injured. Although he was wearing a battle knee brace made of cowhide, blood was seeping out of his gray pants. Seeing this, Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. The reason why these people didn't make a move now was probably because they didn't have full confidence. After all, none of the gold stars in the Holy Temple were easy to deal with. She could not lose her momentum. She was also at the end of her rope and needed time to rest. At this time, she could only rely on her momentum to find a chance to survive. She raised her hand and handed the dragon soul sword to the mercenary. "Take care of it." "Yes, Lord." Mounting the horse, Lin Muyu fastened her cloak and said, "Where are you going to camp today, Commander Li? From the looks of it, you must have just killed a powerful spirit beast?" Li Jingxi knew he could not deceive her. He nodded and said, "Yes, we met a 6,400-year-old bear of earth on the way. I lost dozens of men to injure it, but the bear of earth still left with heavy injuries." If that's the case. An idea came to Lin Muyu and she smiled. "Then we'll rest for the night. Tomorrow, we'll find this bear of earth." Li Jingxi was taken aback. "Lord, aren't you afraid of a 6,400-year-old spirit beast?" What's there to be afraid of about a mere beast? Lin Muyu's momentum was astonishing. She smiled and said, "We'll find the bear of Earth's lair tomorrow. All you need to do is watch." "Good, that's great." With a faint smile on her face, Lin Muyu continued to ask, "I wonder, why did Commander Li bring your mercenary brothers so deep into the dragon-seeking forest? There shouldn't be anything you want here. If it was a mercenary mission, you wouldn't have to go so deep." Li Jingxi was taken aback. He was stumped by Lin Muyu's question. He scratched his head and smiled awkwardly. "I'm ashamed to say this. We originally planned to go to Seven Seas City, but we got lost in the dragon-seeking forest." Lin Muyu thought to herself, "Who are you trying to fool? Seven Seas City is north of the imperial capital. This place is almost south of the imperial capital. Even if you got lost, you wouldn't get lost to such an absurd extent, right?" However, he didn't expose her. After all, he was living under someone else's roof. He was relying on his momentum to support himself. If the opponent were to make things difficult for him, he wouldn't have it easy either. His body glowed with a faint golden light. The golden gourd martial spirit was slowly absorbing the spirit chi between heaven and earth to replenish his consumed do chi. At the same time, his stamina was recovering. When Li Jingxi and the others found a cliff to set up camp, Lin Muyu's do chi and stamina had completely recovered. However, she wasn't in a hurry to make a move. She had to figure out who this group of people were first. 4 bonfires were lit under the cliff. The group surrounded the bonfires and began to cook soup. The accompanying warhorses carried some spirit beast corpses on their backs. They cut off the meat and cooked the soup. Not long after, the aroma filled the air. There was even a deer roasting on one of the bonfires. This group of people's lives were too extravagant. Not long after, Li Jingxi brought over a large jar of wine. He smiled and said, "Sir Ma Lin, it's warm and cold. Drink to warm your body. Let's drink until we're drunk." All right. Drinking was good. When a person was drunk, they would be the most relaxed. This was the best time for Lin Muyu to use the mind-reading ability derived from the spirit pulse technique to find out what these people were thinking. Soon everyone was already drunk. However, Li Jingxi didn't drink much. He spat out most of the wine into the towel that he used to wipe his mouth. He was really a wine expert. Lin Muyu smiled silently. She slowly extended the spirit pulse technique and seeped into Li Jingxi's eye. Soon she heard a voice saying, "I really can't see the depth of this brat's cultivation. Damn it, we've been ordered to hunt down Tang Xiaoxi. I don't know if we'll succeed. Once we get this brat drunk, we'll kill him. We can't let this *T Ma Lin ruin our mission." However, what exactly was the mission? He refused to say it no matter what. Lin Muyu was a little anxious. After waiting for a while, she finally read Li Jingxi's eye again. "Is Tang Xiaoxi really that important? Seriously, Her Highness gave us this kind of mission. We don't have many people lurking in the capital. We haven't even seen Tang Xiaoxi and we've already lost so many people. She even told us to be careful and not ruin Shenhe's plan. Damn it. After we finish the mission, it's time to ask Her Highness to send more people to us. She also needs to reward us more." Who was this Her Highness? Lin Muyu frowned. Could it be that this group of people was sent by Qinin? That couldn't be right. If Qinin really sent more people, she would have come herself. Where did this group of people come from? However, he didn't have time to continue reading Li Jingxi's mind. After a look from Li Jingxi, 4 mercenaries had already surrounded them. Each of them had their hands on the hilt of their swords. They didn't come with good intentions. Chapter 272. This group of people were definitely not ordinary mercenaries. While they were drinking and eating, they didn't speak a single word. Rather than saying that they were mercenaries, it would be better to say that they were regular soldiers with strict discipline. Furthermore, their gazes were not filled with the greed and arrogance of mercenaries, but with restraint and fortitude. At this moment, 4 people surrounded Lin Muyu. Li Jingxi held a wine glass in one hand and a sword hilt in the other. He smiled and said, "Lord Ma Lin, you've drunk too much. Come, 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 let us brothers send you on your way. Clang. Li Jingxi held the sword hilt upside down and suddenly raised his hand to pull out the blade. The blade turned into a bolt of lightning and swept upwards towards Lin Muyu's side. At the same time, the surrounding 4 people also pulled out their swords and stabbed forward. This kind of tacit understanding wasn't something that ordinary mercenaries could have. One could imagine how many unguarded experts they had killed using this method. However, Lin Muyu wasn't one of them. A golden light suddenly bloomed from Lin Muyu's body. The golden gourd walls came out of her body and protected her body. After a few dang 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 sounds, the 5 longswords were all deflected. At the same time, Lin Muyu leaped up and opened her hand. Flames lingered around it as the dragon spirit sword on the horse's back was quickly unsheathed. Pooh! With the imperial sword technique, the dragon spirit sword pierced through a mercenary's abdomen. Lin Muyu's right hand controlled the dragon spirit sword in the air, while her left arm was surrounded by the true dragon aura. With 2 pung-pung sounds, the other 2 mercenaries were pushed back. Taking advantage of the fact that Li Jingxi couldn't open his eyes due to the sunlight, she lifted her leg and gave him a heavy kick. Immediately, Li Jingxi covered his abdomen and retreated with a face full of shock. Swoosh! The demonic noise saber pierced through the air. Lin Muyu was multitasking. The invisible demonic noise saber quickly attacked and killed several people. At the same time, she controlled the dragon spirit sword to continue the slaughter. Her true dragon arm also didn't stop attacking the surrounding mercenaries. Kill him! Attack together! Use your bows and arrows! Li Jingxi shouted as he retreated. However, the arrows were unable to kill Lin Muyu. The defensive ability of the golden gourd walls was extraordinarily tyrannical. Lin Muyu flew through the crowd like a whirlwind, her killing intent surging. In the blink of an eye, the dragon spirit sword was already covered in blood, while the demonic noise saber danced formlessly in the crowd. In the blink of an eye, the necks of several people wielding longbows were cut into pieces. Bang! A loud boom erupted from behind her. Li Jingxi had unleashed an attack imbued with his scorching battle chi, and Lin Muyu shuddered involuntarily. At the same time, the walls of the gourd finally shattered, and the sharp arrows bounced off her suit of battle armor. Lin Muyu had killed over a dozen people in the blink of an eye, but she had also expended over half of her battle chi. His suit of battle armor quickly dissipated, and he was at a huge disadvantage in a one-on-one battle. Puff puff! In the instant that his battle armor had shattered, he had been struck by 2 arrows on his back. Even though the arrows had only pierced a few centimeters into his flesh through his suit of battle armor, it was still an excruciating pain that reduced his strength by at least 30%. To catch bandits, first catch their leader. Lin Muyu rushed toward Li Jingxi and raised her hand to unleash a punch. Chaos of the lives. Lin Muyu's strength was already above Li Jingxi's, and she also had the 7 luminaries' profound energy. She instantly shattered Li Jingxi's sword, and the dragon spirit sword swept past, slicing the battle axe that Li Jingxi had just raised in half. Her punch still landed squarely on Li Jingxi's chest, and the sound of ribs breaking could be heard clearly. Ugh! Li Jingxi threw up a mouthful of blood, and there was no way he could struggle. Lin Muyu grabbed him with one hand, and she leaped onto a fine horse. She then slashed the reins and spurred the horse away. Behind them, a group of mercenaries also mounted their horses and chased after them. Lin Muyu put Li Jingxi on the horse's back, turned around, and unleashed a demonic sound fist. Immediately, a mercenary groaned and fell to the ground, killed on the spot. In the end, Lin Muyu spun around 3 times, and 3 mercenaries with high cultivation bases were killed by the demonic sonic fists imbued with battle energy. Li Jingxi, who was on horseback, spat out a mouthful of blood as he shouted, "Stop chasing, let's hurry back to the imperial capital and report to the special envoy. The person who killed me is Lin Muyu." The group of mercenaries turned around and left without hesitation. Lin Muyu was also worried that they would chase after them, so she brought Li Jingxi and ran for dozens of miles before stopping. She lifted him up and threw him under an ancient tree. She said coldly, "Tell me, who are you people?" Li Jingxi's mouth was full of blood, and he laughed loudly. "I actually didn't recognize that you were Lin Muyu, I admit it." But you want to get anything out of me? Dream on. Lin Muyu suddenly pressed the dragon spirit sword against his neck and said coldly, "Are you going to tell me or not?" Li Jingxi gritted his teeth and forcefully pushed his body forward. With a pu sound, the sharp dragon spirit sword directly pierced through his throat. Lin Muyu's eyes were indifferent. If he died, then he died. This kind of person's death was not to be regretted, but it was a pity that she didn't get anything out of him. She didn't know where these mercenaries came from. They looked like people from the army, but who in the Empire's army would make a move against an instructor from the Golden Star Temple? Could it be that this group of people were from the Divine Might Battalion? It didn't seem like it. Most of the soldiers from the Divine Might Battalion used long blades, and they used the military blade technique passed down by Xiong Wentian, wind blade technique. But this group of people mostly used swords, and their sword techniques were very strange and tricky. After searching Li Jingxi's corpse, she didn't find anything. This group of people seemed to have done a very good job in keeping secrets. If it wasn't for the mind-reading ability of the spirit pulse technique, she probably wouldn't even be able to find any clues. She rested beside Li Jingxi's corpse for a while, but she accidentally fell asleep. When Lin Muyu woke up, it was already dawn. It was another new day. After eating, she quickly galloped towards the southern forest. The dragon's tomb was getting closer and closer. In about a day, she would arrive there, but she didn't know what kind of things she would encounter. In the southwest direction of the dragon-seeking forest, the sound of hooves galloping could be heard. Tang Bin led over 1,007 Seas city soldiers and galloped forward. After being attacked by spirit beasts 3 more times, the number of people in 7 Seas City was greatly reduced, and there were less than 1,200 people left. Although Tang Bin was furious, there was nothing he could do. There were many powerful spirit beasts in the dragon-seeking forest, and if humans accidentally stepped into the territory of these spirit beasts, they would be attacked. After all, spirit beasts also understood the importance of territory. Those who dared to enter their territory were either enemies or food. There was no third possibility. After Elder Jing died, Tang Bin had been deeply worried. While speeding up the march, he was also worried about what kind of spirit beasts they would encounter next. And these Tang sect soldiers who came from 7 Seas City were already exhausted. The appearance of spirit beasts made them exhausted. Moreover, they didn't know where Tang Xiaoxi was at all. This trip didn't seem like they were looking for someone, but more like they were looking for death in the dragon-seeking forest. This dragon-seeking forest probably hadn't been this lively for several hundred years. It was simply like a feast for the long-lived spirit beasts. Not long after, a scout galloped over and said respectfully, "Young master, we found a group of people in front of us. They came from Lanyan City." "People from the imperial capital?" Tang Bin raised his eyebrows. "Is it the Imperial Army or the Imperial Army?" "Neither, it's the Divine Might Battalion's army." It seems that Divine Marquis Zheng Yifan is also among them. "Zheng Yifan is here too." Tang Bin nodded and muttered, "Is Zheng Yifan here to find Xiaoxi or to kill Xiaoxi?" The scout shook his head. "I don't know." "How many people do they have?" "About 400 people, not too many. They're already here." "Young master, we can't hide anymore." "Is that so?" Tang Bin waved his hand and said, "Everyone be on guard, prepare for battle." "Yes." The group of Tang sect soldiers unsheathed their weapons one after another. Behind them, many people took out longbows from the backs of their horses. If this was a real battle, the cavalry might not be as useful as the archers. After all, this wasn't an open field, and the war horses couldn't increase their speed to the speed of a charge. Moreover, it was inconvenient for them to move around, so it was better to abandon their horses and use bows instead. This group of people were the elites of the Tang sect army. Naturally, they were very skilled in horsemanship, archery, and swordsmanship. Not long after, a group of people slowly approached from afar. They were carrying the flag of the Divine Might Battalion, and Zheng Yifan was at the front of the group. He rode over on his horse and smiled. "I was wondering who it was. So it's the young master of the Tang family." Tang Bin also smiled and said respectfully, "So it's the Marquis. I wonder." Is the Divine Might Battalion also searching for Xiaoxi's whereabouts in the Dragon Forest? Zheng Yifan nodded. The nine-tailed demon fox kidnapped Princess Xi. His Majesty is anxious, so he ordered me to lead the Divine Might Battalion into the Dragon Forest to search for Princess Xi. Young Master Tangbin, please don't be impatient. Princess Xi is blessed by the heavens, so she'll definitely be fine. Tangbin smiled. Thank you for your kind words, Marquis. Do you know where Xiaoxi is? Or where did the nine-tailed demon fox kidnap Xiaoxi? Zheng Yifan stroked his beard and said, Princess Xi once went to the dragon tomb in the south of the dragon-seeking forest with Her Highness Yin for an adventure. If I'm not mistaken, Princess Xi might be in the dragon tomb now. I see. Tangbin frowned and said, Then please lead the way, Marquis. We'll go to the dragon tomb together. At least we can look after each other. That's fine. Zheng Yifan nodded. If we stay together, we can better deal with the unknown spiritual beasts in the dragon forest. However, I've already lost a lot of troops, but young master still has more than 1,000 troops. Why don't young master clear the path in front? What a cunning old fox. Tangbin cursed in his heart. He gritted his teeth and said, Why don't we do it this way? Let's go side by side. What do you think? That's good too. Maybe we'll be able to find Princess Xi earlier this way. Dragon-shaped valley was a valley in the depths of the dragon-seeking forest. There were hunters in the valley who made a living by hunting small wild beasts. This place was filled with outstanding people, and was surrounded by cliffs. Only a small path in the valley could lead people in and out of the valley, creating a beautiful scene of paradise. Even though this valley was located in the depths of the dragon-seeking forest, the hunters in the valley were safe and sound. In a simple and crude courtyard, a rustling sound came from a fence made of bamboo branches. Clothes that were being hung to dry slid off the bamboo poles with a schwa-schwa sound. Inside the fence, a beautiful young girl was lying on the ground. Her skin was as white as snow and her figure was graceful. However, the 9 slightly swaying fiery red tails behind her looked exceptionally bewitching. She quickly put on a long dress, but unfortunately, the tails behind her were swaying unwillingly inside her clothes. This made her a little speechless, and she could not help but smile faintly. However, at this moment, a child about 3 or 4 years old stood outside and asked in a tender voice, Excuse me, are you a thief? Why did you steal mother's clothes? The young girl stared at him in shock. Suddenly, she leaped out of the fence and disappeared into the forest after a few leaps. Chapter 273. The cold wind blew through the forest. It was early in the morning, and they were only 300 miles away from the dragon's tomb. With the speed of the heavy cavalry, they could reach the dragon's tomb before nightfall. However, the journey was full of hardships and everyone seemed to be exhausted. Many of the soldiers were even infected with diseases, causing their combat power to decrease sharply. Zheng Yifan frowned and gripped the reins tightly. He glanced to the right and saw Tangbin approaching on horseback. He cupped his fists and smiled. Divine Marquis, many of the soldiers in the Divine Might Battalion are infected with diseases. In my opinion, Divine Marquis, why don't we set up camp here and let the soldiers gather information? As for the scouting ahead, let's leave it to the soldiers of Qihai City. What do you think? This, Zheng Yifan hesitated for a moment, then said, This is already the deepest part of the dragon-seeking forest. It's not like the outskirts, where there are many 10,000-year-old spiritual beasts. Young master, please think thrice before you act. This old man may be old, but I can still lend young master a hand. Tangbin, on the other hand, had a different idea in his mind. He wanted to be the first to enter the dragon's tomb to find Tang Xiaoxi. If it was Tang Xiaoxi in her 9-tailed demon fox form, then he would kill her on the spot. Naturally, the fewer people who knew about this, the better. The elites of Seven Seas City that accompanied him were all his trusted aides. However, if Zheng Yifan knew about this, then it would be equivalent to giving him a handle. This was something Tangbin absolutely did not want to see. Tangbin cupped his fists and smiled. Thank you for your kindness, Divine Marquis. However, I'm leading the elites of Qihai City. I believe that even if we encounter a 10,000-year spiritual beast, we will be able to escape safely. The most important thing is to find Xiaoxi as soon as possible. If that's the case, I won't say anything more. Zheng Yifan pondered for a moment. But what? Tang Bin asked. Zheng Yifan smiled and said, however, this old man had once trained in this area about 10 years ago. There are 2 roads leading to the Dragon's Tomb from here. One is the Loxi Valley, and the other is the Green Summit Ridge. This old man suggests that young master take the Green Summit Ridge. That place is only occupied by a group of swift wolves. As for the Loxi Valley, this old man has personally seen a flaming ironback bear that has lived there for more than 10,000 years. Thank you, Divine Marquis, I understand then. Tang Bin turned his horse around and smiled. Our 7 Seas city will depart first. Divine Marquis Divine Might Battalion, please bring up the rear. Of course, young master, please be careful. Thank you, you two. Tang Bin rode his horse back to the 7 Seas city camp, loudly ordering, full speed ahead. The sound of horse hooves thundered, and the more than 1,000 people of 7 Seas city began to run, disappearing into the depths of the forest in the blink of an eye. Zheng Yifan squinted his eyes and looked into the distance, smiling. Have a safe journey, young master. Sikong Nan smiled faintly. Marquis has pointed out a path for young Master Tang, but I don't know if they're willing to take it. But, Marquis, was that ironback bear that was more than 10,000 years old made up by you to deceive that kid Tang Bin? Zheng Yifan lightly waved his robe sleeves and lightly said, when have you ever seen me, Zheng Yifan, deceive anyone? Sikong Nan was stunned, but his heart was in turmoil. He thought to himself, perhaps this is the legendary, the art of war is deceitful? Among the constantly galloping cavalry, Tang Hao, a Tang family clansman whose strength was second only to Tang Bin, carried a broadsword, his face full of caution as he asked, young master, Zheng Yifan suggested that we go through the Green Summit Ridge. Which path do you think we should take? Tang Bin squinted his eyes. Zheng Yifan, that old fox, since he pointed out that there is a 10,000-year-old ironback bear in the Loxi Valley, I don't believe him and insist on going through the Loxi Valley. The art of war is deceitful, the truth is false, the falsehood is true. This Zheng Yifan's words cannot be trusted, but we must also believe him. Both the Green Summit Ridge and the Loxi Valley may be occupied by 10,000-year-old spiritual beasts. Tell everyone to be careful and send scouts to scout ahead. This subordinate understands. Tang Hao lowered his broadsword. Rays of Do Qi appeared on the blade. He was a powerhouse who had just stepped into the first level of the Heaven Realm. Although he was over 40 years old, he was highly valued, and was also the person closest to Tang Bin in the family. Now that Elder Jing was dead, Tang Hao had become Tang Bin's most trusted general. Young master. Tang Hao suddenly wanted to say something but stopped. Uncle Hao, what's wrong? Is there something wrong? Tang Bin asked in surprise. Tang Hao's eyes flickered as he looked at the grass that kept retreating under the hooves of the horses and said, young master, Xiaoxi is your biological cousin. Can we consider not killing Xiaoxi? As long as she agrees not to fight with you for the inheritance of 7 Seas City? Haha, this matter. Tang Bin laughed. Uncle Hao, I know that you watched me and Xiaoxi grow up together and have feelings for us, so I won't make things difficult for you. As long as Xiao Yin isn't a 9-tailed demon fox, I won't do anything to her. After all, I've loved this little sister very much since I was young. This is something that Uncle Hao can also see. Then what if Xiaoxi is a 9-tailed demon fox? Those who are not of our clan must have a different heart. Killing intent flashed across Tang Bin's eyes as he said, this can only mean that she's not a member of our Tang family. Since she's not a member of the Tang family, then just kill her. Tang Hao sighed. Yes, this subordinate will obey young master's orders. Tang Bin and Tang Xiaoxi were both direct descendants of Tang Lan, while Tang Hao was a direct descendant of Duke Lan's elder brother. It was precisely because of this that he didn't have a very high status in the clan. At the very least, he couldn't be compared to Tang Bin, Tang Lu, Tang Wei, and Tang Xiaoxi. To be able to become a personal attendant was already a great fortune. Those with low cultivation could only be reduced to maids or attendants. Aloxi Valley. Spring was warm and flowers were in full bloom. The entire mountain was blooming with white flowers. For light cavalry scouts passed through the Loch Zee Valley. Both sides of the valley were filled with winding paths. It was impossible to see if there were any ambushes. They had no choice but to use their spears to randomly stab the grass. Every so often, a few poisonous snakes would jump out with a pu-pu-pu sound. However, for cultivators, poisonous snakes were simply child's play. They were only afraid of 1,000-year or 10,000-year poisonous snakes like the dragon snake. The length of the Loch Zee Valley was less than a mile. After a round trip, the scouts all came out of the valley and reported to Tang Bin. "Young master, there are only a few poisonous snakes in the Loch Zee Valley. There's nothing wrong with it." Tang Bin nodded and laughed. "Humph, Zhi Yifan thinks he can scare me. He's simply dreaming. Let's go through the Loch Zee Valley. We must reach the dragon's tomb before dusk." Yes. Tang Bin, Tang Hao, and the rest of the Tang family entered the Loch Zee Valley. The sound of 1,200 heavy cavalry's hooves shook the entire valley. Obviously, this kind of power was not something the 4 light cavalry scouts could compare to. At this time, in one of the caves of the Loch Valley, a gigantic creature slowly woke up from its slumber after being jolted by the hooves of the heavy cavalry. It opened its fiery red eyes and patted its flat abdomen. There wasn't a lot of food throughout the winter, and it had been starving for many days. It seemed like it was welcoming another delicious meal. Roar! The flaming ironback bear's roar echoed in the valley. In the next moment, this big guy that was at least 3 meters tall suddenly jumped out of the cave. Its sharp claws pounced on a huge rock. Its entire body was enshrouded in raging flames. It stared at the group of people passing through the valley a few meters away. Without saying a word, it pounced down and bit the head of a 7 Seas City heavy cavalry. After spitting out the helmet, it began to chew vigorously. At the same time, it swept its palms across and cut open the stomachs of 2 other heavy cavalry. Beast! A Tang family member at the 3rd layer of the Earth realm roared angrily. He raised his iron spear and charged over. His arm trembled, and a spear light shot out. The tip of the spear went straight for the flaming ironback bear's eyes. Unfortunately, this flaming ironback bear had a total of 11 golden lines and 4 silver lines on its forehead. This was a 10,000-year ferocious beast. The invisible flames around its eyes directly shattered the iron spear. In a rage, the ironback bear pounced forward. Its sharp claws were astonishingly fast, and it suddenly swept diagonally. The wind from its claws was scorching hot, and it actually directly tore the Earth Realm 3rd layer clansman into 2 halves. His body was a bloody mess, and he didn't even have time to scream. Everyone was dumbfounded. At this time, Tang Bin, Tang Hao, and the rest had also returned. Looking at the surrounded ironback bear, they gritted their teeth and shouted, "Bows, arrows, spears, do your best to distance yourself. We'll be able to kill this 10,000-year ferocious beast once we break its ferocious chi." As he said that, Tang Bin opened his arms, and the Firefox martial soul darted around his shoulders. A Firefox seal broke through the air. Pung! Star sacrificial seal. The Firefox seal smashed heavily into the ironback bear's forehead, but it only sent out powerful flames and fragments of ferocious chi. It didn't really hurt the ironback bear. Instead, the ironback bear charged forward ferociously, and with its claws and bites, it killed a few more spear-wielding soldiers. Arrows fell like rain from all directions, but how could they break the ferocious chi of a 10,000-year ferocious beast? Tang Bin kept a distance from the ironback bear, and he used the Firefox seal again and again. He was the only expert at the peak of the 1st layer of the Heaven Realm, and also the only person who had cultivated the Firefox seal to the 7th layer. The 5 chi seals in his hands spun rapidly, and they bombarded the ironback bear's head. Finally, after nearly 100 people were killed or injured, the ferocious chi of the ironback bear was broken. Spears, bows and arrows. Tang Hao ordered loudly, but the ironback bear was a spirit beast race known for its defense. Its fur was as hard as iron, and it actually broke the spears in half. As for the arrows, they couldn't even hurt it in the slightest. On the other hand, the attacks of the crowd made the ironback bear almost go berserk. Its body was covered in flames, and it charged back and forth among the crowd. In less than 20 minutes, the 1,200 Tang clan soldiers led by Tang Bin had been killed by the ironback bear, and only less than 400 people were left. The valley was filled with broken limbs and bodies, and the ironback bear had launched a few flame attacks, burning quite a few people into a pile of ashes. The scene was simply too horrible to look at. The ironback bear had paid a heavy price as well. Its entire body was covered in blood, and its iron-like skin was lacerated. More than a dozen arrows had pierced through its eyes. It was only relying on the aura of a human to kill its prey. On the peak of the Loxi Valley, a handsome young man lay quietly on top of a green rock. He was just sensing the battle in the valley with his spirit sense. Who else could it be other than Lin Muyu? You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.